Alright, so just looking at the 2D sprites, little interesting, little interesting.
Oh, they're not sprites.
That's right, the 2D artwork. Was this made by the same guy who did Bowser vs. Eggman
No.
then? Do you know who made it?
No.
Damn. Alright. We'll give it a few minutes for see if some people show up, and then we'll start. I don't think it'll take too long to go over this 24-minute video.
Does that mean I get a preview window?
A preview? Oh. Right. Fuck, keep forgetting that. Hang on. Okay.
Hey, Kyle, you're mighty quiet about this thing that you have opinions on. Yeah, I can't say it.
Well, fuck, maybe you should have fucking opened with that. Alright.
Quiet as a church mouse is.
Uh-huh. Fucking bastard. Alright, so you've already seen this death battle, right? Well, I guess I should say I already know who wins, because the first thing I saw on Discord was that, you know, the winner. But I saw something. I think I saw you talking about the Black Flash, but I didn't read your whole thing. So I guess Black Flash pops up here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I had massive issues with how they went over that.
Alright. Well, let's see what they have to say. I'm doing my own JJK matchup, so I'm curious what Death Battle is going to say about the scaling. But so, before this starts, I'm just going to state for the record, Shigaraki technically dies in the near the middle of the story, so I don't think it's fair to scale him to anything after that. Because I know there are characters stated later on to be faster than him. I think it's specifically... Hang on.
Shigaraki or Mahito?
Oh, Mahito, my bad. Yeah, thank you.
I was going to say, it's just like, shit, you know more about my hero than I thought. I don't even know that.
No, Shigaraki fucking, I'm pretty sure dies at the end. No, it's Mahito, because I think there's a statement about Kashimu being faster than Mahito at his full potency. Hang on.
Oh, you're going to love that little, that little caveat at the end.
Oh, is this gonna be a death battle I'm gonna have some slight issues with, is what you're suggesting?
Oh, let's just yeah.
No Tails gameplay today. I gotta wake up early tomorrow, so we can't stream the full distance. So since Death Battle for some reason released their Death Battle today instead of tomorrow, I was just like, we'll just react to this, then call it there. Next week should be back, assuming Kyle's good to go on that. Yeah, I was gonna say, because I'm pretty sure it's saying about Kashimo being faster than him. It looks like some more people are joining, so we should be good to start soon. This results. Yeah, I'll worry about it later. It's not a big deal for now. Because there's no way they're going to fucking scale him to fucking like Kashimo or anything. So we'll see how it goes. Why are you laughing? Okay, well, we got 2 people. That's enough.
You only need 2 for an emoji.
Shigaraki versus Mahito.
The symbol of fear versus the human disaster curse.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Tenko Shimura was just a sweet, shy boy who loved superheroes.
But sometimes the hand of fate can't abide sweet shy boys.
Ruthlessly beaten and abused by his hero-hating father, Tenko pushed beyond his emotional limits until he activated his inherent superpower.
It's like you!
Work.
Do you say he's like me?
He likes League of Legends.
Oh. Well, that explains why he became a villain.
wasn't something cool like flight or super strength.
I will
It is
say
terror.
specifically that I'm kind of surprised they don't. I'm kind of surprised they don't mention that the reason his dad did that partially was because his mom ended up dying, or his grandmother. Shigaraki's dad's mom, the one for all user.
Family. Well, except for dear old dad. That one was intentional.
Tenko wandered the streets alone, silently
Lame Joker
begging for
reference.
someone, anyone, to help him. If only a hero was there to save him. But instead, the only open hand he found belonged to the devil.
All for one. The greatest supervillain in history.
He took Tenko under his wing, feeding a hatred of everyone and everything, and grooming him to one day lead his League of Villains in destroying Hero Society.
With
Yes.
that came a new name, Tomura Shigaraki, and an absolutely nightmarish quirk, Decay. It does what it says on the tin. Anything Shiggy touches with all 5 fingers turns to dust. The perfect...
Applied through hands and feet, citywide range, disintegrates physical matter, disintegrates energy attacks. Oh, it disintegrates energy attacks too? That's pretty good. Fear Aura, reactive evolution. So a lot of characters have reactive evolution, but I don't know how... It's such a nothing statement unless you can, like, quantify it, you know? At least that's my opinion on it. Like, yeah...
Well, this is where I have to ask, because some people get this confused. Does he have reactive evolution or accelerated development? Because they kind of cross over.
So, I think it'd be reactive evolution because he gets stronger as a result of shit going on to him. Like, it's through the heat of battle he gets stronger, or through, like, shit going on to him he gets stronger. Because when you say accelerated development, I think more like, if you're just performing or training, you will get absurdly stronger. But he's more reactive in the way he does it. So I think giving him reactive is fine. But they're effectively, for most intents and purposes, they're basically the same thing.
Power for someone who just wants to destroy. Pretty menacing, if not for that dorky-ass costume. I get it, hands are his thing, but come on. They just look so dumb and fake.
Oh, those aren't prosthetics. Those are real hands from his family that he killed, attached to his face, and explicitly commanded to be left there by his mentor so that he would never forget his rage.
Okay.
While his use of decay started off relatively weak, it rapidly increased in power and range as Shigaraki came into his own.
Decay isn't even limited to whatever he's touching. Anything that touches something he's decaying also decays.
Spreading like an all-consuming his own.
Decay isn't even limited to whatever he's touching. Anything that touches something he's decaying also decays.
Wouldn't this just mean that it's just like a bigger range of the decay? Because he still has to touch something to start decay.
So all they mean is that, like, let's say that I touch a door and it starts to decay. Because the door is connected to the wall will start to decay too.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't you just make that assumption because anything he touches just decays?
Sometimes powers like this only work on the immediate thing you're touching.
That's fair, but I feel like when you say he has the range of a city, I feel like that kind of already defeats the purpose. Because, like, what I'm assuming they would say here is that if we were both touching a wall, and I touch that wall, I can decay you by touching the wall, but leave the wall undecayed. Because that would be cool. That would be useful. I'm assuming that's not what they're saying, though.
Spreading like an
No, I assume it's indiscriminate.
Hello for finance before I pass out. Hello, Rock and Alice. What character is Shigaraki being in a fight? He killed All Might's student. And I'm sure he got a bunch of wins in the final arc. I didn't read the final
consuming
arc.
miasma that can wipe out anything from an enormous tower to an entire city.
If decay reaches you, your only hope is to isolate the body part that is disintegrating before it gets to something vital.
After years of training with the greatest super
Was that
villain of all
Professor?
time,
Was that the professor from Phineas and Ferb?
No, because he would have stumped Shigaraki out in the fight.
before it gets to something vital.
After years of training with the greatest supervillain of all time, Shigaraki was finally put in charge of his own team with one mission. He must kill his master's rival, the #1 hero, All Might.
Only to fall flat on his face.
Shigaraki was a terrible leader, quick-tempered, short-sighted, and, well...
Cringe! Oh, he's just so cringe. He uses gamer lingo unironically. He whines like a baby
It
when
is you!
Nah, that ain't me. Because I would have won.
his way. He's the kind of guy who would say normie in real life, in front of normies.
He is you!
Defeat
I
is
don't
the
use
greatest
Normie,
teacher of
fuck
all.
off.
Only through struggle could Shigaraki manifest his dark conviction.
Right as All Might's new protege, Izuku Midoriya, was coming into his own as well.
These two rivals, the inheritors of their master's blood feud, would push themselves past their own limitations.
Especially when All Might and All For One double KO'd each other, leaving Shigaraki to lead the League of Villains all by himself.
All for One's a fucking shit villain. The moron is so fucking incompetent. Zimmer Shigaraki confirmed. Damn.
And with the stakes higher than ever before, Shigaraki stepped up. He personally battled the monstrous Gigantomachia for a month and a half straight, and conquered other villain organizations to create the Paranormal Liberation Front. Thousands of new soldiers for his personal army.
All to impress All For One's personal quack, Dr. Ujiko, who spent months upgrading Shigaraki's body to make it more like his sensei's. It might have been constant agony, but
I don't see the resemblance. Where do you scale Phineas and Ferb to? I'm pretty sure, realistically speaking,
That show's gotta have some absurd feats.
I want to say they're uni. Well, because they're not faster than light. I remember that one from an episode where they tried to outrun light and they failed. But
Wouldn't most of the scaling come from Perry?
well, no, because like I'm assuming you'd give the inventions like scaling. If we go with just Perry, then I'm pretty sure Perry's dodged lasers at one point, but the show makes it clear that like light's faster than the lasers. So I don't know on that one. I'd have to watch the series, but I'd be very surprised if they weren't absurd.
Shiggy went from Chud to Chad.
Ujiko's experimentation vastly increased Shigaraki's strength, speed, and durability, enough to match and surpass even All Might's
You know, someone made a video how powerful Dante video without saying how powerful Dante is.
absurd power.
Sharing
Can Phineas and Ferb scale to Marvel characters too? They do have a crossover, but that's kind of... Crossovers are kind of weird.
All Might's power between them, Deku and Bakugo were able to punch an island-sized hole in a cloud that
Okay, so I know this
2,000
feat.
miles
This
into
is
the
not
sky.
something they
We've
can use. This comes from the fucking movie. Get the fuck out of here. I don't even think that movie is canon.
So it's not canon, but this is where there's a caveat that needs to be mentioned. This is a hypothetical ending that the author was going to go with at one point. So this movie was a what if for how the series would have ended if the author didn't change it, I think, like, in the third to final arc.
to punch an island-sized hole in a cloud that reached 24 miles
I
into
don't
the
know.
sky.
I don't.
Okay, there's a cloud feat, so Shigaraki just wins.
I don't think they should use it personally.
We've calculated that before to be nearly 80 million megatons of TNT. Almost as much as the meteor that wiped out the
You know how
dinosaurs.
fucked it is that, like, the second a cloud calculation comes in, you can almost guarantee that's the fucker who's winning?
And Shigaraki can now move fast enough that his body produces hypersonic shockwaves and can even catch laser beams.
And he's tough enough to survive Star and Stripes Intercontinental Ballistic Cruise Punch. Now the new name for my penis. Move over, gigantic Omega Storm. Anyway, it also made a blast so big it showed up against the curvature of the Earth.
Though he might
Just use
soon
that.
fit
That's literally a better feat than the movie.
When Shigaraki's body is pushed hard enough, he will evolve into a state of uncontrollable power.
So Decay became? Oh shit, more hands!
Shigaraki can spontaneously generate flesh into existence, seemingly oceans of it in an instant.
Yeah, because
Whenever
Cyber told me that his power's technically not decay. What Cyber told me was that Shigaraki's power is technically a mutated version of the Mafia guy's power, Overhaul. And Overhaul can create and destroy, like, physical matter, so to speak.
he wants. He can even use it as a type of armor to defend himself in close.
That's actually a nice design.
combat.
But that's nothing compared to Ujiko's greatest gift. Shigaraki wanted to be the new All-for-One, so what better way than the old man's quirk?
All for One's quirk, All for One, allows its user to steal and store quirks with just a touch.
And All-for-One has hundreds of them stored up, collected over the years.
Each quirk is connected to a memory of its user's essence in the form of a spirit, a vestige.
Ooh, okay. Let's see here. Though created from biological quirk factors, vestiges are described as being souls and spirits. It is even remarked that the vestige of All Might within One for All becomes more clear as he gets closer to death.
He just fucking wins then.
Oof. Why not show the scan of them being called souls and spirits then?
Kinda like a piece of their soul. They
Yeah,
exist in this kind of...
If they're going to go with this argument, why not just go with the argument that Shigaraki could just absorb Mahito like Kenjaku did?
Well, I'm assuming they're going to say he could.
psychic world in
Well, actually,
Shigaraki.
you've seen this one, so I haven't. But I'm going to assume they say he could. Because if they're already equating quirks to souls, which is what they're doing here, then they would be equating Mahito's existence to a quirk.
Not equating quirks, vestiges. I'll explain in a moment.
Oh, there he is, as expected. All right, the feat that Kyle.
Canada.
What? All right. This is Cyber. I suspected he was going to show up for this. He was a big fan of this matchup. Actually, so funny enough, we were going to react to the G1 blog of this matchup by ourselves, but when we went there, G1 blog was taken down, apparently. I guess there's a purge going on about, like, anime links or something. So,
Copyright took it all down. I'll send you the WordPress for it later. We still have it. It's just on WordPress now.
Yeah.
You'll never see it on Blogger ever again.
all right. So, let's continue.
His body and can even act as a spiritual defense should it be invaded.
And with those vestiges came quirks like super fast healing, air blast, radio waves, flight, telekinesis, teleportation of others, and the ability to track foes.
He can even combine multiple quirks together, like in this big-ass electric Kamehameha.
However, any
Shigaraki stole danger sense from Deku specifically by stealing the vestige of Hikage Shinomori rather than the quirk factor. Yeah, no, so they're calling vestiges quirks.
Not exactly the quirk. So it's like, if you want to pause for a moment, the vestiges are like, so like they're like memory shades of the user, right?
Yeah.
But they're extremely equatable with souls. It's like Horikoshi's original vision of it was definitely more science fiction-y, but as time passed, and especially the very end of MHA, they just went on the full spiritual route. Like in the fourth film, even, which is technically, My Hero is weird in that all of its films are canon according to the author. In the fourth film, which takes place like a few days before the final arc, there's a moment where he's trapped in a dream world, and the vestiges inside of him interfere and end up calling like these like imprint versions of all the students that are trapped in the dream world, calls them spirits. And then like there's something similar in Vigilantes, which is the prequel to the series, manga prequel. Something very similar. I'll elaborate on it a little bit later.
Right.
But so, like vestiges themselves are like basically artificial souls, as close as to souls you can get.
Yeah. All right. Well, even if that's correct, which I mean, I'm sure it is because I know he's researched My Hero Academia. Death Battle is making it clear that they're putting them very close together to the point where like they're one and the same. So
I think equalizing is perfectly fine. What a lot of people forget about Panda from JJK is that in the chapter that Yaga dies after Shibuya, when he's asked how he made Panda, he explains, and this is also in the Japanese text, he had taken physical data. So like, keep in mind, JJK, the body has information, so does the soul, and they're very intertwined. So he specifically took body data, put it into a spiritual form, and had them observe each other, and that's what produced Panda's soul. So like,
yeah.
no,
No, I mean like.
so like,
Yeah.
artificial souls. So like, Panda is almost like super equatable with like the Vestige situation. They're almost one-to-one. Minor differences, but like Panda is very explicit proof that like you can definitely equate souls in JJK to the souls in MHA, especially Vestiges.
vestige stolen or destroyed will also remove that quirk from Shigaraki's repertoire. They're also sentient, and some can even fight for control.
Which is when the second shoe finally dropped. Because Shigaraki also got All For One's vestige, that means All For One was now in possession of a shiny new body that he'd spent the last 15 years molding for him to take over.
Shigaraki's entire existence was planned from the beginning. Why? Because All Might's previous mentor was Nana Shimura, Tenko's grandmother.
All that to mess with All Might.
Okay, here we go. Feats destroyed Decay City, fog, like I mentioned, caught laser beams, proved legitimacy of the quirk singularity doomsday theory.
So this is always something I've had a problem with when it comes to Death Battle's feats, is that the only one on here that actually matters is like destroyed the city, caught laser beams. Everything else, you need context behind it for why it matters.
So you do need context for a few of these, but like fighting for a 1.5 months I think is fine, just on its own.
If I may, the feat sheet is more meant to be feats and accolades.
Yeah. Far Stronger and All Might seems fine too, since most people know who All Might is. But like,
Yeah,
I don't know who the fuck the quirk singularity thing is.
Yeah, but they always have the fate section, and it's just like, you can put down a bunch of random names, that's fine, but if you don't tell me why those names matter, I'm just going to shrug my shoulders.
I actually remember, because I had an issue with this one in the Kenshiro Death Battle, because they list a random as fuck Asura in the feat section, but I don't think they listed Souther, and I'm like, what the fuck?
I could give a rat's butt about Camp Zero, so...
Yeah. Just like most people don't give a fuck about Mario.
That is some next level hating right there.
He manipulated Shigaraki's entire life, all for one purpose: to create a soul so corrupted it would grind away at All Might's perfect world, allowing All For One to take full control.
But All For One's possession wasn't complete, and Shiggy managed to fight his way back to the top, literally decaying his way through vestiges in the process, all to fight his rival Deku one last time.
Despite Izuku's best efforts to save him, Shigaraki was too far gone. His spirit decayed by years of venomous hatred.
And the new symbol of hope defeated the new symbol of fear, burying All For One's grudge for good.
All that Shigaraki asked was to be remembered as the heartless destroyer he was raised to be, and not the broken, angry, crying little boy he really was deep inside.
For just that one moment, though, Shiggy got in Deku the only thing he'd been denied his whole life, the one thing his lifelong nihilistic tantrum was really all about. He got a hero who tried to save him. This battle is sponsored by Robin Hood Gold.
Oh, Robin Hood. Yeah. To be fair, not the worst sponsor they've had.
Able and wetted his fields with his blood.
You won't be seeing DraftKings ever again, at least to my knowledge.
Right.
There's YouTube, funny enough, considers it age restricted.
What?
Really? And yet Blue Chew is fine.
There's definitely some irony there on that one. That's great. It's like having an Adam and Eve fucking ad, and it's like, yeah, it's perfectly age appropriate. Which I don't think Adam and Eve actually gets copyrighted.
The next time.
Kane slew.
The next time Death Battle has Blue Chew, they'll be like, you want to keep up the battle like these two characters?
His brother Abel and wetted his fields with his
That's
blood.
great.
Man's greatest fear has been his fellow man.
But what if this
You wanna know what makes
took
me
on
hard?
life of its
Kyle, stop
own?
it.
What if all that negative emotion humans felt for one another spilled from their bodies and congealed, forming, over time, a living being fueled by malice, which believes in nothing but the law of the jungle?
Well, then you'd have the special grade curse with a patch face, Mahito. Oh, I've had people tell me I've become a human disaster curse when I've had too many mojitos.
Mahito is one of the deadliest beings to ever afflict man.
Unregistered special grade curse, leader of the disaster curses. Interesting background there. Fan of Tolkien. Yeah, it's fine. Lives in a society.
Kind.
Bro, how the fuck are we? Hang on, did we get the edgy joke for Shigaraki or no? Yeah, okay, we did. I was gonna say.
He's no
I didn't
mere
notice
mortal,
that the first time.
but a cursed spirit. And
I was like,
Oh, hold on. Before you continue, I want to elaborate two things. Technically, is the unofficial leader. Like Jogo puts him on a pedestal as leader, especially after his death. He was also always intended as kind of. I mean, Kenjaku is kind of the leader as Geto, but not really. I mean, not. But Mahito is the unofficial leader, I guess. Now, the Tolkien part, that's funny, because that's actually from the light novel that nobody reads. The JJK light novels, Mahito has a chapter in Volume 1 where we meet him before he meets Junpei, and it turns out he reads Tolkien, and he's a really big fan.
Light novels for JJ.
And
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it has two light novels. The first one has a chapter entirely dedicated to Mahito, where he meets an old man who he has extreme intrigue in. Doesn't want to kill him outright initially because the man doesn't fear Mahito in the slightest. And while Mahito doesn't have any,
just look up PDF.
it's translated. It's fine translated.
Well, I'm checking to see what it's called.
I gotcha.
Okay, here we go. Let's go.
I think Mahito's chapter in Volume 1 is chapter 4, if I recall.
Okay, Summer of Ashes, Autumn of Dust. So I might have to pick that one up for Gojo scaling later. And I'm assuming Thorny Road at Dawn is a...
Mahito's chapter has a few statements about the soul. What you might need to do, depending on how canon you consider it, if you're planning on doing a scaling video, is look into the mobile game Phantom Parade, because it's got some actual feats in it. Gojo has a mound-busting statement, a random curse explicitly weaker than Hanami, and only as strong as two fingers of Sukuna put together. Has enough curse energy to create this massive tree over a mountain that if you calculate the growth of the tree and then later the energy necessary to destroy it and that he was sustaining it, gets in the megatons. It needs a recalc for considering it hollow because it is a hollow tree. No, you won't see that calc here. It's too recent of a calc. Huh? No, there's arguments for it. There's a statement that it's like canon to the anime specifically.
Oh. That's...
Then I'm sorry, I probably wouldn't touch that unless it's canon to the actual series.
It's canon to the anime, and Akutami had involvement. One thing it does add is something that was never shown in the series, which is Hanami's domain expansion. Hanami's domain expansion was never shown in series. It's exclusive to Phantom Parade as a addition from Akutami.
Hanami? Oh, okay, that's fair. I was gonna say, wait, let me make sure I'm thinking about the right person.
Hanami's domain was alluded to, but never got the chance to use it because, well, Hollow Purple.
I'd have to take a look and see then as to... I'll take a look at some of the feats in the mobile game later, and I'll take a look at the canonicity of it. Because if the author's involved, I think it's fine using some things from it.
Author is heavily involved, and the arc leading... that arc specifically that has that random curse actually leads straight into Shibuya. Kenjaku uses... some of the stuff. So Kenjaku purposely gives the two fingers from Sukuna to this curse. Mahito picks them up after the curse is killed, so it doesn't contradict the story. It's part of the several ones that Jogo feeds to Yuji during Shibuya.
Yeah.
And Kenjaku was basically sponsoring this curse with not really. It was only using him, but this curse's idea is to create this barrier, which will basically like create this utopia for curses on this island.
Yeah.
And basically like continuously trap humans within to continuously slaughter, basically, amongst other plans. Sukuna considers the curse a bore, and it's explicitly stated he's weaker than Hanami. And Mahito just kills him at the end of the story. Yuji does a really good job and eventually gets slightly amped and beats the crap out of the guy. Keep in mind, it's pre-Shibuya.
Yeah.
And then, like, it turns out the curse can survive without a body. So, like, Mahito kills him, and then, like, he can survive as a curse, and then Mahito touches his soul with idle transfiguration and pops his soul, so kills. The curse's name is Roketsu.
Okay.
So Mahito basically kills him twice.
All right.
and then picks up the 2 fingers and then gives it back to Kenjaku.
Yeah.
And then Kenjaku just calls Roketsu lame, but all he really wanted was the data from Roketsu's barrier to perfect the barrier he plans on putting over Shibuya.
Now that I think about it, I don't think they ever. I think they reference a barrier in Shibuya like once or twice, and that's it. Because it happens at the start, but the Shibuya arc's the longest arc, so it's like the only time where they don't fucking go super fast. But let's see.
Exist weaker or stronger depending on the amount of anxieties, jealousies, hatreds, and fears humans feel about them.
Like the fear of locusts, kinda weak. Or the fear of smallpox, getting stronger. Or the fear of fire. Oh, goodbye, Tokyo.
So it follows that mankind's fear of itself would be extremely powerful. Those negative emotions manifest as Mahito, a being composed of cursed energy.
It's basically like evil ki. Cursed energy can be used to make spirits way stronger, faster, and tougher than any normal human. And it's invisible, making curses like Mahito impossible for the untrained eye to see. Only a life or death situation can galvanize a normal person to see a cursed spirit.
That also makes cursed spirits virtually immune to physical damage. They may be physically present in space.
Alright, so we have physicality, partial vulnerability, invisibility, combat adaptability, cursed energy, auto regenerate reserves, black flash, barrier technique, curtain, and binding vows. I wonder if they're actually going to touch on how binding vows
But can
work.
only be harmed by attacks that embody spirit matter like cursed energy.
Which makes curses insanely hard to get rid of, like ghosts, cockroaches, or my ex. That's why you need a jujutsu.
That's kind of
sorcerer
not
to
correct.
Which one?
The fact of like cursed spirits can only be killed by shit that attacks the soul, because fucking Maki and Toji are the exceptions, I guess.
So Maki and
Maki
Toji
will
can't
be-
kill curses on their own. They need a cursed weapon to do it.
So there's actually a very good example with that. Naoya gets kicked by Maki and then makes fun of her as a curse, saying that she can't hurt him, and then he immediately gets stabbed by like the samurai who had picked up the soul splitter katana.
Yeah.
So it's like Toji and Maki consistently just use curse tools to slaughter curses. They can't actually like physically harm them with their strength.
Yeah.
I do agree though with the notion that like that should never be no limits fallacy. I'm not going to go and say Superman could punch Mahito and Mahito would take no damage. I'm never going to go with that route.
It's not that they don't take damage. It's that they just can't be killed by it. So like you could theoretically hurt a curse with brute strength. It's just not going to really do anything over time because they're going to just come back anyways. Because they can hurt freaking Sukuna's cursed form. Like Maki can kick him and shit, and it does hurt him. It's just that
Sukuna, to be fair, is not really a curse. He's more like a sorcerer.
yeah, but he stated to be a curse throughout the final arc and everything, and that his reincarnation state's a curse. So like, I mean, it should apply regardless. Point of the matter is that she just can't put them down with brute strength. But like, there's no reason to say she can't like maim them and then they'll just heal back. But you know, yeah, it's weird. They're not very consistent on that one. Kind of like how like the U.S. military,
Like ghosts,
showed up and then just
cockroaches,
left.
or my ex. That's why you need a jujutsu sorcerer to come in and kaizen the shit out of them. They call it exorcism, but I like the way I said it better.
Curses and sorcerers have battled each other for millennia, waging an endless war over the fate of humanity. Almost exclusively in Japan, though, for some reason.
But Mahito was special. You see, most curses are basically dumb animals. But Mahito has so much cursed energy that it gave him sentience.
So he was recruited by Kenjaku alongside other special grade disaster curses to wreak havoc upon the world. In fact, they made Mahito their leader.
And even more frightening than intelligence and bloodlust, Mahito possessed philosophy.
Perhaps informed by the tragic meaninglessness of interhuman conflict, Mahito is an existential nihilist, believing in nothing but his own will to power. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and Mahito is the wolf.
Which also makes him kind of a goofball. If nothing matters, why not have fun with the slaughter? Really get your steps in. He loves to dig around and toy with your emotions like a cartoon character before slitting your throat.
An appropriate analogy, considering his curse technique, idle transfiguration.
Using his cursed energy, Mahito can control anyone's soul with just a touch. including his own. In fact, he's so good at manipulating his own soul that you can't even kill the bastard without directly targeting it.
In Jujutsu Kaisen, the soul
According to Principal Yaga, one could replicate a soul and information from the information of the body. Alright, does the soul
and the body share an immutable connection. Whatever happens to the former affects the latter.
This lets Mahito squash, stretch, and shift his body into literally any...
Alright, auto transfiguration, shapeshifting for offense, reshaping the soul and bodies of opponents, reshaping his soul to fix damage, cloning, soul multiplicity, body repel, domain expansion, self-embodied perfection, 0.2 second variation, instant body with distorted killing, enhanced physicality, exoskeleton with blades. Toji body did beat soul. No, so the way it works is because Toji has no cursed energy, the normal rules of the verse don't apply to him. It's they make it very clear that shit that goes on with Toji and Maki is just weird. I really hope they're not going to argue he can only domain expansion for 0.2 seconds. Because I see his 0.2.
No, that's not what it's arguing.
Okay,
He has a 0.2 iterate. He has a 0.2 version he copied off of Gojo, if you remember.
Yeah,
Shibuya?
No, I remember that. I just want to make sure that like that's not that they're going to argue it's just a.
No, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that.
He can turn his limbs into blades or clubs, grow wings like a bird or fins like a fish, reform his body around injuries, or even create clones.
curse users are naturally unharmed by their own
Mahito's
ability.
clowns are
Should
weird.
he
He
touch
uses
a
them
human,
one time,
though,
I think
his
that's it.
alterations to
Most of the
their
time, just
body
playing his
are
body
instantly
apart.
fatal.
And since he's attacking your soul, those physical wounds are gonna be impossible to heal.
Even if his alteration isn't directly fatal, the human body won't last more than a few moments in a transfigured state.
All that with one touch! God, I thought herpes was bad.
His powers mean
Nobra is not
treats
not the character you want to show to show off his ability.
Physical wounds are gonna be...
Also, to be clear, I'm pretty sure Sukuna states he could have healed the guy who got transfigured. He just chose not to. The problem is that
I have to look into that. I have to look into that because that might be mistranslated. There's two different translations
I think
for that. There's the
Viz
original
Media-
release.
No, that's pretty accurate because the manga says it and the anime also says that he could. He just chose not to.
So the thing about the thing to be clear here is Shoko is the only one who can reverse curse technique other people allegedly because
No, that's not accurate. Yuta can as well. It's just that RCT for yourself is always going to be more potent than RCT on others. Sukuna can heal others. I have to double check the translation on that. But if we want to go with the notion Sukuna can heal the soul, there is an actual showing for such a thing. So during his fight with Maki, it stated that because he now knows the outline of the soul, he can heal that wound. It's just in his current state he can't because his RCT was heavily impaired from his fight with Gojo.
yeah.
So a wound from, and that's actually something interesting because Soul Splitter Katana, while not 1-to-1 with Idle Transfiguration, is still kind of similar in that it leaves a wound in the soul that cannot be repaired and it reflects on the body. It's essentially Duranek. Yet Sukuna, in theory, could heal it at full
Yeah,
health.
because basically
So,
the top twos of the
Yeah.
verse I feel like will be able to heal it just because of how stupid their abilities are. Probably fucking Hikari too. Can Mahito curse technique work on Soul's characters? Theoretically it shouldn't, but in JJK again the soul is basically the body, but again we never see him fight Toji or Maki after she loses her cursed energy, so we don't really know how that works.
I honestly don't think it would ever work on someone that with no soul. There's nothing to manipulate.
Yeah.
What he wouldn't be able to shape the body without first affecting the soul.
Yeah, no. Although, like, JJK is a little unclear as to what the actual answer to the soul actually is. Is the body and soul one, or is it just the soul first, then the body afterwards?
Impossible to heal.
Even if his alteration isn't directly fatal, the human body won't last more than a few moments in a transfigured state.
All that with one touch! God,
Yeah,
I
she
thought
survived that hit, by the way.
herpes was bad.
His powers mean Mahito treats humans as effectively disposable dolls that he can gleefully experiment on. The more casualties, the better, especially if he gets to break your spirit first and watch you suffer.
Even more twisted is when he combines two transfigured humans together.
While a character does not have a soul, Oh, there are plenty of characters who don't have souls in fiction. Like, just off the top of my head, I think there's examples in Supernatural where the main characters don't have a soul for a while.
Mephisto's minion Centurius, who in the past basically was the way he defeated Zarthos, because Centurius, or I think that's his name, explicitly has no soul. There's nothing for the Hellfire to burn, nothing for the penance there to affect. That's how he screwed over Zarthos in that one instance. I think they had a rematch later on, and the same issue popped up. Literally nothing to burn.
Yeah. Kyle, it sounded like you were going to mention somebody.
Yeah, there's an entire group of people in Get Backers that are just soulless beings.
Yeah. So there are plenty of characters in fiction without a soul. It's just that, like, most of the time you would have to, you would be told directly. So, yeah. Of course, you could make the argument of, like, what if you have an artificial soul? Would Mahito's power work? Yeah, theoretically it should, because it's still a soul.
Together for soul multiplicity.
Wait, pause for a sec. You said Supernatural. Sam was soulless for a while.
Yeah, that's why. Because I remember Sam was soulless for a while. I don't know if Dean ever went soulless for a bit, but I know Sam for a while didn't have a soul.
A couple of people were Sam, Dean, Bobby, and a few other people.
Yeah.
Dean was possessed at one point by Michael. And then the writers decided to have Michael ditch him, which I still think was stupid writing, but whatever.
Combines two transfigured humans together for soul multiplicity. Essentially a giant torrent of body horror flesh that he repels at an opponent. Ugh.
Mahito is unbelievably creative with his application of idol transfiguration, and despite being a newborn curse,
The
consistently
entire fucking
experienced
fight.
sorcerers
Do you know how fucking hard that was to cut that fight to make it manga accurate?
Does that fight have a lot of filler in it? I don't think I've seen
That
the
fight
actual
is
fight.
nothing but fucking filler.
Kyle in the anime.
I love
have
that.
fun.
Dude, I hated making this arc manga accurate. It was such a pain in the ass. That and the fight with Maharaga, fucking kiss my ass. I fucking hated that.
I love the additions to the Mahito fight. I'm a little iffy on... So my thing on the Maharaga fight is I actually like
The
it, especially
Maharaga fight
the...
fucking sucks in the anime. It's way better in the manga because it gets to the point of what's supposed to be shown.
Let me finish! I don't like that Maharaga's regen is like... I mean, if you go the way with DB does, which is kind of like using both materials, the manga and the anime, if they ever do a Sukuna episode, might have to especially... so, like, the Maharaga thing is weird because, like, second season, if I recall, and I might be wrong, I'm pretty sure there was a statement, at least on Twitter, from one of the animators that the scene with Sukuna and Maharaga was just them adding stuff that was cool.
None of it was cool. The entirety of that choreography was dog shit.
I'm not even giving a take. I'm simply saying that was the.
If
I recall, it was the Twitter statement. Anyway, getting to the point. If that's accurate, if I'm remembering right, that would make it questionable to use Maharaga's blood level regen. The blood, because Maharaga is turned to blood twice in that fight. Once by normal dismantle, and then the second time by malevolent shrine, and he regenerates from both. So, if you are okay with using the anime, that would imply one, Maharaga has blood level regen. Two, while Hollow Purple does not have any hacks per se, it would have nuked out of existence a character that can regenerate from just blood. I mean, obviously in the manga, Maharaga can't do that. Maharaga's regen in the manga is far more limited than just regenerating blood. Anyway, this is a pointless sidetrack. I apologize. This is more relevant.
It's not pointless.
It's more relevant if we ever get a Sukuna episode or a Gojo run back.
No, it's never pointless to shit on that fight in the anime because it was terrible. They made what was essentially like a 22-page fight stretch into 2.5 fucking episodes
What
of bullshit.
Fight did you fucking read? That fight ended in like 10 fucking pages. There's no fight in
No,
the
he's
manga.
No. Both of you are wrong. It was roughly 22 pages. It was 2 chapters specifically, so 17 pages each, so closer to 30 pages. And then it was not 2.5 episodes. The Sukuna Mahoraga fight took place over one entire episode in its entirety, and then there was the build up prior to it. So in the prior episode, in the final few minutes of that, so basically, it was a full episode and like 30 pages in the manga,
Literally the
something like
whole
that.
fucking fight.
When I saw him fucking use trains as I was just like, get the fuck out of here. This doesn't even look.
I love the scenery destruction though.
The
Anyways,
fight in the manga is literally Sukuna gets punted out of Shibuya because I think the author note says he was gone. He got kicked out of Shibuya, or at least past the curtain. Sukuna coming back, activating
he was kicked
terrain,
out.
and then fucking using his fucking fuego on him. Which, can I just say how fucking completely off topic to the matchup at hand? But can I say how fucking stupid the rules for Mahoraga are? Because Mahoraga should not have existed after that fight, but because technically Megumin summoned him, I guess the fucking ritual was going on, and that's why Maharaga's still around, which is fucking stupid.
No, so what it is that Maharaga technically it has to be like defeated to be tamed, right?
Yeah.
I still don't know how Sukuna technically did it because by definition, Sukuna violated the rules of the ritual. The ritual doesn't entirely end until either Megami was killed or the other guy was killed. I can't remember his name. But Sukuna took advantage of that in order to actually defeat Mahoraga. But obviously Mahoraga still remained, and Sukuna was able to, I guess, tame him off screen while in Megami's body. That or Akutami forgot and had, I guess, considered Sukuna taking over Megami and being the one who had originally beat him somehow meet the rules of the ritual. It's super vague. What is implied is that it's weird because so Sukuna says in one of the final chapters of his fight, of his like marathon fight, the reason he can't use Megami's techniques anymore is not so much that he changed back to his original body, it's that the destruction of Mahoraga basically damaged the technique. But in the final chapter, Megami is still able to use Divine Dog. I guess it makes sense. It wasn't part of the chimera that Sukuna made that Gojo murdered.
So
but at the same,
this is something that the author also forgot because it's stated very early on in the manga that when one of the shadows dies, their powers go to the other shadows. So theoretically,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, theoretically, with Mahoraga dead, those dogs now have Mahoraga's adaptation.
I think with Mahoraga, it might be vague if Mahoraga carries over. More so, everything else in the Chimera should have probably transferred over to Divine Dog.
So those dogs got like, either they became the strongest things in the verse after everyone died, or they are...
Or Akutami forgot.
Yeah, or they're just fucking... No, he probably forgot, because otherwise fucking Megami wouldn't be a fraud anymore, and well, can't have that.
Oh, what's that? Gege forgot? Say it, go.
I will say this, I think JJK gets a lot of crap on, but Megami's thing is like...
Well deserved.
Megami is waste. I'd argue I would put Nobara close to it, but I do think that the fact that Megami didn't technically die and then get resurrected was more so just got shafted out of the final arc. Megami pretty much more so embodies the definition of wasted potential in JJK more than most of the characters.
Yep.
You could literally throw a dart in that series. Because
Anyways, we should continue.
Yeah, hang on, I've got a quick question. Is Jackpot Hikari stronger than Yuta or no? No, but Jackpot Hikari would probably win.
I don't. Okay, I think Jackpot Hikari. Oh, pause for a sec. Jackpot Hikari could out stamina. I think. I think if you're gonna argue that Jackpot Hikari wins, I think it's because of out stamina. I don't think he has any AP or durability showings that would put him above Yuta, especially like a domain amp Yuta. Yuta would win in AP, but he would probably get like out staminaed by Jackpot Hikari.
Well, let me put out the caveat here. Because I know one of my friends really loves this technique. Jacob's Ladder, GG.
So Devil actually said Jacob's Ladder victim while Cyber was explaining himself.
I don't know if Jacob's Ladder would. Oh wait, hold on. Let me think.
So Jacob's ladder would hurt
no, no.
Hikari, but it wouldn't do anything beyond that because he's not a resurrected spirit, and Jacob's ladder I think is specifically more effective against resurrected souls or whatever.
You know what would be funny? Rika eats like no, because Hikari hard counters it. The rule addition to Rika, which I don't like, that being that like if the original physical matter she consumes is regenerated, it immediately removes the one she's copied. So no, Hikari is a hard counter for Rika copying.
Yeah, but
That's probably why Yuta never had Rika eat any part of Hikari, because Hikari would have just
Hikari is
regenerated
not a
it.
pillow puncher devil. What the fuck? Ignore him, Cyber. He's a Yuta fanboy. He deals little to no damage. What the fuck are you talking about?
What?
Like I said,
you mean
Yuta
Utah with? What you mean?
I prefer
Utah with his,
Yuta.
what, you mean Utah with his special power, the secret art of fucking child grooming, of what he uses for fucking Rika?
No.
Let us resume now before this goes too south.
Alright.
That
I'll
he's
deal with you,
equipped.
Daredevil. Why does Death Battle do this thing where a lot of times they make characters say their iconic lines without it flowing well?
Study who's picked up a number
Wait,
of
what are you talking about?
first
It's
techniques.
just an editing.
What's the question?
No, he's just asking about like why Death Battle puts iconic lines, but like they don't flow into it. It's just an editing decision. I'm sure the script writer and the editor aren't entirely one-to-one. I think the editors get some free reign. Cyber, do not answer that fucking question.
I can't even answer that question. I don't know.
Good.
The Black Flash.
What question?
By applying
Oh, hold on. We're talking about Black Flash. Let's go.
Oh.
Let's hear
Okay,
what they
okay.
say about Black Flash.
Wait. Before you crucify anything for the speed argument, know
Oh
that.
no, that's my domain.
No.
I'm
Hold
going to
on. Let me get my
I'm going to nail this argument like a fucking tent peg.
All right,
Let me get my laptop because that specific argument requires a specific scan. You're free to continue while I get my laptop if you want. I'll just when it's time to cook, to quote unquote cook it, I'll just you can pause it there.
All right.
I'll cook it alright like the fucking Salem witch
All
trials.
right, Cyber. Just remember before you start your stuff, let Kyle get his thoughts out first. The boy's probably gonna say something.
I know. I don't intend on like going to war or anything.
I have not seen this. I heard there was something with the Black Flash. Let's see what they
Who's picked
say.
up a number of
It's
different
not new. If you watched Gojo Makima, they did the same thing, but this time it's a different iteration of the same calculation.
All right, let me see.
curse techniques, like the Black Flash.
By applying cursed energy within 1 microsecond of an impact with an enemy, space itself will distort, exponentially amplifying its force by a factor of 2.5.
Not only does this hurt like a mother, it restores your curse technique and gets you fully in the zone.
And would require reflexes moving nearly 1,000 times the speed of sound.
Nope, stop. Fuck this. No, this is an application of when it activates. This is a technique activating. This is not travel, this is not reaction, and this is not perception. This does not fucking lead into any kind of speed whatsoever. This is the equivalent of if I could cause my hand to explode when I punch shit, you steal my speed to the explosion caused by my power. No fucking way.
Hold on. Let me hear what they say again just to make sure I heard it correctly.
They can pick rocks and tell their story walking.
Amplifying its force by a factor of 2.5.
All right.
Not only does this hurt like a mother, it restores your curse technique and gets you
Oh,
fully in the
that's what I
zone.
was looking
And would require reflexes moving nearly 1,000 times the speed.
Okay, so
That's weird. It's not letting me see the stream. Oh, now okay, there we go. Now I see it.
Okay, so
And gets you fully in the zone.
just to
And would
clarify,
Reflexes moving nearly 1,000.
no one allegedly can perform a Black Flash willingly. I call bullshit because Yuji's over
Okay.
there fucking throwing them out like they're fucking candy in the final arc.
Here's the only caveat that I'll give to Black
Okay.
Flash.
Before
If you're going to use Black Flash for a
Yeah,
speed
let Kyle
feat,
finish first.
you only apply it to the same amount as the strength would be increasing. That is the only caveat I will give you.
All right.
Otherwise, it's just strength increase.
All right, Cyber, go for it.
where? One sec. Let me just.
All right.
No, I don't want Roketsu. I don't want my notes on the soul stuff. I want my notes on speed feats.
All right. So
There we go.
While he's grabbing that. All right. Hello, Neil.
All right. So, really quick. First, what we need to do is there's a little caveat explained in chapter 256. The official translation is garbage, so I'm using TCB because in the 256 is like one of the most memed on chapters because like the way Gojo starts it in the translation for John Wary, I think that was his name, the guy who always butchered the translation. It's really bad. Anyway, so let me read what Gojo says in chapter 256 word by word, so I'm not actually like, okay. So he says this. Do you really need me? It's an interview that Gojo does and it's like a flashback interview, right? He's being asked why he can't use Black Flash. So, and I quote, "Do you really need me for me to explain why I can't use Black Flash?" Well, to break things down for you, it's because of Six Eyes. Black Flash is a distortion in space that arises when a sorcerer applies curse energy, and this is him saying it, within 0.00001 seconds of a physical blow. I feel like this is lacking as an explanation. If that's all there is to it, then I should be able to do it at will. Imagine I throw a straight punch.
Huh? Cyber?
Reinforcing. Oh.
You cut out there a little bit.
Shit, Mike. Fuck. My connection went down. I hate this connection. Okay. Fuck. Let me just skip to the part where I was reading.
Yeah.
He says, imagine I throw a punch with cursed energy. And he says, there are 3 types of curse energy it possesses. Curse energy reinforcing my fist, curse energy striking my opponent, and curse energy bearing those 2. And he shows like a little diagram of 1, 2, 3 numbered and like curse energy on his hand. I can post this for you if you want. And I guess, what's a good chat? Just
do voice chat text.
Yeah. That's fine, because we are in voice chat.
Voice chat? Okay.
Yeah, voice chat text.
Right there. While it's loading, I'll get the second page. Because the second page is the important one. So after he describes the 3 types of curse energy, right? And he says if it was just those factors, he could do it at will.
Yeah.
That being what he previously talked about, which was the timing thing, right? Yeah. So he adds this. This is his personal belief. He says, also, timing isn't the only thing. Blending.
Cyber?
Rise or not to rise. No one except me can accurately adjust it.
Yeah.
He says. He adjusts number 1. He says, number 1 being the energy striking of the 3 examples he gave. Furthermore, this blend changes according to the environment at the time, which includes the the opponent's curse energy and the condition on your own body. It may sound funny, but I even think air temperature and humidity have an impact. After all, Black Flash is about the space itself. In other words, there's no single right answer to the conditions to using Black Flash. Besides, when I fight serious blah 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 curse techniques, he basically saying he usually kills his opponent before he can even get to Black Flash. He says the truth is Nanami has done it more times consecutively than I have. He says, but in total number, but he says, but I'm above in the total number, plus my fights end so fast, blah blah blah. And then it says Itadori would eventually overtake him later, as in like the amount done. So what Gojo is saying here to DLR is that he can, if it was just timing, it would be no difficulty for him. And also if it only pertained to type 1 of the 3 types of curse energy you mentioned, it would also be not an issue to him. So timing for its activating in that time frame.
I'm sorry, Simon, there is nothing in that explanation that you would use for speed.
So there is. So this is where it matters, because so they get their mock calculation from the timing of doing Black Flash, because
no, that's how quickly the attack activates. No. That's the problem.
No.
It's not the body moving at that speed. I'm not accepting this.
So you would have to accept
actually not for the body.
No, I fucking
listen. You would have to accept it for perception.
I don't.
Because Gojo is saying he can perceive things at those speeds.
So the original, that's not the calculation is not for the calculation is literally for what it said, which is the application.
Yeah.
Applying energy in that time frame, which is a perception calc.
Yes.
But the original version Yes, it is. It would be applying something. If you're applying something and you can do it at will, which he's implying that he's the only one who can originally in this interview. He's explaining that the reason that people can't do it at will is that it's not just timing. It's a multiple factors. It's mixing or maybe not mixing those three types of cursed energy in the
I'm not
environment,
convinced.
the opponent's cursed energy. Unless we're saying Gojo's wrong, which I don't really think the intention is here, because that.
Well, this is also his
Sure.
opinion.
No. Oh, okay. So
Hmm?
number one.
And this is an application. This isn't the body moving to match this speed.
Bruh.
This is
Then
exactly
I'm
no.
not-
This no. This is exactly the example I gave.
Let me handle
There's
this.
My punch. If I can cause an explosion with my punch, you're
Okay.
scaling my speed
Okay, hold on.
off the application
Hold on.
of my fist
Hold on.
causing an explosion. No, I don't accept this.
No. Okay. Let me first go down. To be clear, you are aware that the body can move without cursed energy going through it. Because I believe you read JJK, so you're aware of Yuji's double punch, right? Because his fist moves so fast on its own that the cursed energy hasn't caught up to his hand, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. What Gojo is saying is that with his punch, he can send his energy out within the microsecond time frame that allegedly
Fabulous.
Black Flash would go through. So his cursed energy.
Fabulous. That doesn't scale to speed. That scales to application. That doesn't scale to free speed.
Hold on. Explain yourself on what you mean by application. Clarify your position on what you mean by application. Clarify your position.
Okay, so this is neither a perception, reaction, or travel feat. What this is what he's saying is Black Flash activates in X amount of time. This would be the equivalent of you scaling me to if I was able to punch and I can create an explosion with my punch, you're scaling my speed to the speed of the explosion coming from my punch.
Okay.
No.
No. Okay. I already see what you're misunderstanding. So, the reason it would be a perception feat is because in order for the explosion to occur, you would have to launch out whatever's causing the explosion within the microsecond time frame, allegedly.
Or that's just how fast it activates. It has nothing to do with you.
But you have to control it. Because what Gojo is saying here, because that's what everyone assumes. Everyone assumes the cursed energy goes within the microsecond of the impact in order to activate. What Gojo is saying here is that if all it took was launching out the energy within the microsecond, he would be able to do it no problem. So Gojo is saying that he can move his energy and perceive that microsecond. So by all accounts, this would be an energy and perception. Well, I don't know about energy because it doesn't have to travel that far.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's just an application feat.
Then you would.
Okay,
so the problem here is that
no, that's to convince me.
he is saying he can perceive that second or that microsecond.
Okay.
So you are just wrong.
Okay,
Here.
in this case scenario, that only counts for him.
It probably counts for Sukuna too.
That's fine. That's fine if it only counts for him. This explanation. I hadn't finished my breakdown, so if you're fine with it applying just for him, that's actually very fine. But the problem is he's making it as more of a general statement. This is an interview that takes place. We really don't know. It's implied that it's sometime before Shibuya, given the getup. Right? He has his old blindfold. Whatever. So he's basically explaining like the whole situation with Black Flash, right? So I had not gotten a chance to explain how the calculation actually works. So the calculation is taking the original perception value of applying that energy in that time frame, and then it's using this logic, if I may read it. So the fastest, I can link where this is from, but the fastest possible conscious human reactions are about, and this is sourced, but I can get you the source, 0.5 seconds, but most are around 0.2 seconds. Unconscious or reflex actions are much faster, around 0.08 seconds, because the signal doesn't have to go to the brain, or go via the brain. Reflex actions occur in response to danger, for example, moving your hand away from something hot or blinking when something moves quickly towards your eyes. Reflexive reaction occurs more quickly than conscious reaction, because you don't need time. Blah, blah, blah. This is in line with the description in the series and would explain why they can't throw black flashes whenever they want. It should be reasonable to use the ratio between reflexive reaction, which is what I just broke out, that it's not like you have to put conscious thought into it, right? If going off of Gojo's explanation, it seems to be that it's more conscious reaction for what he's explaining to the Black Flash. So the difference between reflexive reaction and conscious reaction is about a difference of 3 times. So what we'd be taking is to gauge their normal reactions in relation to the reflexive activation. Basically, you're doing a division right here. So you would take the time done where they're the perception calc for the time done in that microsecond, and then you have to divide by 3. Once you do this, you at least have the speed for what we're trying to get, which is like conscious activation. The reasoning for the calc is this. The later on, Yuji uses Black Flash so consistently that it's essentially as though he can do it at will, or at least he gives off the impression he can, which would support the notion that the Black Flash's users at least should be relative somewhat to the activation times. Otherwise, Gojo's explanation makes 0 sense. By the time of Shinjuku, Yuji pulls it off 9 times. And then the other explanation is this. Basically, it's this. Characters not being able to do it at will, we've already explained it's because of a lot of factors. Nanami even says that performing Black Flash multiple times in a row isn't necessarily amazing. Nanami and Itadori can have about 4 or 5 times in a row. It can't be attributed entirely to luck. It's kind of how like IRL people can be slightly faster or slower depending on the situation. It lines up with what Gojo was saying. Or sometimes perform better at physical tasks based on things like mindset and physical condition and such, right? However, activating Black Flash is notable only possible with a certain mindset in which the individual is in the zone, so to speak, not reacting consciously. Hence the statement of them being able to undo it at will. This actually has basis in how human reaction time works, so I can give you a citation for that. That's my text explanation. Here is my citation. So with that in mind, let me get you the actual calc. The calc has 2 ends. There's the old one done by in Gojo Makima, which was about Mach 284. It's one variation of it. It's a low end, and the high end is Mach, like the Mach 900 they used. I personally prefer the Mach 284. It's more in line.
Nearly 1,000 times.
Yeah, I'm still not buying that. Sorry.
It's fine, Kyle. It's fine. You don't have to agree with
No,
everything.
you can move on. I'm not buying it. It's like people trying to scale to the black hole feat. I'm not fucking buying it.
Nobody scales to the black hole feat.
Thank you. Oh my god.
Oh boy, Cyber, you and I are gonna have a conversation later.
Zim, stop. No, Zim, stop.
Wait.
Zim, stop. Stop. I'm doing the Hulk Hogan ear thing where he does to the ring. Cyber, say that again, please.
Nobody scales to the black hole feat.
Oh, Cyber, you and I will have words later.
Wait.
He's going like the mega power.
Zim. I have a compromise for the black hole feat that's extremely simple. So, Yuki should not scale in the slightest because it's a suicide application of her curse technique. Gojo has no way to scale to it. Kenjaku was explicitly going to die with it if he didn't use anti-gravity, and anti-gravity really isn't an AP thing. However, there is a compromise. There is an easy compromise here. So, Kenjaku is I think you can actually angsize it, the distance he's away from the black hole before he comes to actual aware that what he needs to do in order to survive, and then gamble if it's going to even work, since he says it was kind of like a gamble, right? So you can see when that is occurring, his body is stretching. He hasn't applied anti-gravity internally. Like, the way he explains it is that he kind of like internalized it, kind of like using his body as a domain, right? So what you could do is take the what are they called? Tidal forces of the black hole on his body when it's pulling him before he activates anti-gravity. So he'd only be taking a very small amount on his surface area. If you apply that, hold on, I have a calculation for this.
Wouldn't it just be easier to say that they don't scale, because it'd be inconclusive? Because you have Yuki holding back, and you have Tengen and Kenjaku putting up kits to try and minimize.
Cyber, we'll talk about this a little more later.
Wait, really quick. Actually, there is a way around that one. So the calculation is actually not taking the black hole at its full size, Kyle. It's taking it at its initial size when so the black hole you can actually see it initially, and then you can like pixel scale its size in comparison to Yuki. So it would actually take into account that the black hole is not at full potency yet, and therefore hasn't been fully restricted yet. The calculation was in like the megatons. It's the highest calculation you can do for non-Gojo. Ah, got it. 672 megatons. It's using the smallest size possible for the black hole before it fully grows out, and then it's restricted by Yuki and Tengen. And it's only using the tidal forces on Kenjaku's surface area before he activates anti-gravity. It's explicitly discounting scaling him fully to the
600
black
plus
hole.
megatons. That's city plus or low mountain?
That is, I think I have it written down. It is city level.
That
Approaching large.
I mean,
approaching.
Jim makes that more than I do.
Cyber, we'll
What do you say?
We'll discuss this. We'll discuss this a little later, Cyber. But thank you for the information on that.
I'm sorry, I derailed.
No, you're fine. He's not.
Times the speed of sound.
No, because what he said was everything that I told you, and I feel justified as fuck.
Again, we'll talk about this a little more later. Kyle, I'll feed you out to the dogs later.
I just don't see how you would scale the characters to the full black hole, but we can discuss that later.
Yeah, we'll touch on it later.
What's that?
Kyle!
It's gonna make me what?
Kyle, shut the fuck up!
The only argument, if I get 30 seconds for it, the only argument I can think of to scale to the black hole is one of two things. One, Gojo is the strongest, therefore he should scale to anything a special grade sorcerer does, which would include the suicide, which I don't think works because it's a suicide move. And then two, the only other thing I can think of is Yuki's Tengen's barrier helped constrict the effects of the black hole from destroying the world earlier in the. Oh, you use that method?
Yeah. However, I do tell Kyle, and Kyle just can't. Kyle, as you can see, Kyle doesn't appreciate anything that buffs this verse.
No.
Silence! I am talking. Silence.
No.
My time to talk. My time.
No. Cyber will find this funny. I don't fuck with scaling the black hole AP feat to anyone whatsoever. But unlike Zim, I accept trying to give people at least the benefit of the doubt of light speed scaling, and Zim just will not entertain it.
Cyber, you just
that's
saw
funny.
him going to
Anyway,
but yeah, we'll touch on this later. Well, we're gonna continue because we're talking about domain expansions.
Okay.
Also
Sorry.
No,
I had a lot of fun with that.
You're not the problem.
Expansion.
Oh shit! More.
Anyways, continue.
I'm the solution.
No, we're on the domain expansion right now.
All right, hold on. Let's back up a little bit because we were talking over it. All right, go into it.
Moving nearly 1,000 sorcerer techniques. The domain expansion.
Oh shit! More hands! A domain is like a barrier of cursed energy, but if you're caught inside, Mahito can use idle transfiguration.
Actually, you want to talk about what you found out in the guidebook?
It's called the self-embodiment
We'll talk about that if it comes up, but for Mahito won't matter.
of perfection.
Because he's not.
What are you talking about?
Well, because you remember how there was an argument for like people scaling to the worlds within their domains, like AP wise.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think you need the guidebook to do that. The argument for them not scaling is extremely simple. They pour out more energy into a usage of domain than they can put out for their attacks. Domain like curse energy is broken down into multiple things. One thing is curse energy regulation, and most curses are dog crap at regulation. Yeah. The only good people at regulation are Sukuna and Gojo, and their domains aren't really creation feats to begin with. There's no solid matter besides maybe shrine. But like, I mean, if they did have creation feats with their domains, you might be able to argue that they could scale because they can actually arguably put the amount. I mean, even then, I'm not okay with the idea that Sukuna and Gojo can take. Well, I don't know. I was going to say maybe I'm not okay with the idea of taking the amount of energy they put into into their physical attacks. But their regulation is so good that Sukuna, even after spamming domain expansion, was still somehow stated to have Yuta levels of curse energy several chapters after he was said that. I don't understand how Akutami decided to wank him off so much. But anyways, I digress. Go ahead. What is the data book say?
What Zim's about to explain is going to kill that AP argument forever. Because you have characters like Dagon that you can argue created like a whole beach and a sun and stuff like that. But Zim's about to explain why that dies.
Don't want any of you fuckers ever say I'm the room, whatever again. But no, the character guidebook just flat out states that people are born with their domains inside of them in their own mental landscape.
Oh yeah, no, that's innate domains.
So
that's innate domains. The domain just literally brings the innate domain physically into being.
So they never even technically create it. They would just be like pushing it out from what's inside of them. So yeah, no, there's no creation going on because they were born with it already inside of them.
Of Mahito's.
Everyone has an innate domain.
Yeah, but that's why most people can't like pull it out though. That's what makes them good, like better sorcerers from others. That's why like what's his face Nanami never had a domain expansion because I guess he just couldn't cut it.
Absolute control over his victim's body and soul. The only time it ever failed was against the student sorcerer and Mahito's archenemy, Yuji Itadori.
Because not only was Yuji a barf-inducing goody little two-shoes who believed in the inalienable rights of all living things, blah, 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 he also had a curse inside of him.
The king of curses, Sukuna.
Which meant Mahito's ability affected both souls in Yuji's body. Sukuna didn't like that. No surprise, and kicked Mahito's ass, forcing Patchface to fight with a handicap whenever facing his pink-haired menace.
Yuji's belief in the value of human life flew directly in the face of the world that Mahito knew to be cruel and meaningless. So he made it his mission to crush Yuji's spirit.
I actually will say,
him,
hindsight, like being a little forward, Sukuna being able to casually break Mahito's domain in that instant seems kind of stupid because I'm pretty sure at that point Mahito's stronger than what Sukuna would be at that point. Because I think that's what, two-finger Sukuna at that point?
Well, keep in mind, Mahito is at that point not really good at regulation. I mean, he's still not good at regulation in general, but like keep in mind he had already been weakened by several blows from Yuji, so his soul was already damaged to an extent. He'd already expended a good amount of domain curse energy to the point where if you go back into that fight after Sukuna destroys the domain, Mahito says that it barely has anything left. He fakes out the whole expanding and then like goes into the sewers, right? Yeah. And then later, if you chapter 32 is kind of poorly translated. If you go with like a proper translation, Kenjaku says that like something along the lines of that like Mahito's not really holding up. Like he's basically saying that he's basically like kind of in a not near dead state, but you know what I mean, like a really degraded state. Like that fight took a lot out of Mahito. So like you could attribute that to two things: just Sukuna's just him, or Mahito was just already kind of wasting a lot of energy at that point.
So we've already digressed, and we're already running, of course, so often. Why don't you kill the he and Sukuna argument?
Oh, yeah, because no, yeah, because when I was going through for my Gojo research, I stumbled upon a flat out statement that says Sukuna's fingers get stronger every day, according to Gojo. So
yeah, that's stated in the manga too.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, that's where I got it from, and I'm just like, why is he and Sukuna even talked about anymore? If there's no reason to believe he would be anywhere close to where Maguna or resurrected Sukuna would be at. Just by that statement alone, every finger's gone stronger since then. There's no reason to believe he's comparable.
I mean, you have his inverse cheerleader Urame, who kind of. I mean, Urame is like state.
Urame is not valid.
I mean, I'm just
blazing statement, bro. I'm sorry, bro. All he does is just fucking. Come on, bro. Come on. Don't fucking lie to me, Cyber. You know what I mean.
I mean, that's why I said. I mean, I'm not saying Urame is valid. I just called Urame Sukuna's cheerleader, which is not entirely.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Anyways, we should probably continue.
Yeah.
Friends defiling their corpses and brutally battering him before going in for the kill.
And he's got the strength to do it. Mahito's one of the most powerful curses in the world, and his growth is exponential.
We can pause it in this section as soon as they bring up the scaling, because I know that there might be some contention. So, I do not. Okay, so this one is one I'm more lenient to say that I might disagree. Mahito, I don't inherently think scales like 1-to-1 with Jogo's Meteor for two reasons. One, Jogo's Meteor is I forget, maximum technique. There we go. That was the term. Maximum technique, which you could maybe imply if you think Sukuna was playing around or not, could actually hurt 15 or 16 fingers Sukuna, depending on the finger retcon. Jogo is also like generously 8 or 9 fingers according to Kenjaku, where at this point, especially base Mahito, should be not anywhere near that. Mahito, if we're willing to use the mobile game, he's like vaguely above 2 fingers in Shibuya. Probably a bit higher, but he's not provably like Jogo's level, right? Jogo scaling, if you want to do the meteor, I think there's 2 ways to do it. Even then, I would still kind of think you have to do some leniency. That's why I think the tree is a better thing to do. One, in Curse Clash and Phantom Parade, more so Curse Clash itself, I would never really use. I would just use as supporting evidence. It should never be used as a primary evidence. That one's like super non-canon. Joko and Mahito, Dagon, and Hanami have kind of like a non-pitched fight. It wasn't a fight to the death, but they have like a non-pitched fight. And Mahito does pretty well against Jogo during that. You could say since it's not a fight to the death, Jogo's obviously not outputting meteor levels of power, which is fine. I think the better argument is that Jogo considered Mahito to have further potential than him, that he could reach, especially with something like instant body of distorted killing.
Yeah.
But my issue with that one would be pretty simple too. Mahito implies that if he had successfully killed Yuji, he would have and it's supporting in the data book if I recall too, or something like that. It was either the data book or the page in the volume explaining that form. That should he have killed Yuji, he would have become something even further. Because despite instant body being his quote unquote birthday suit, he probably could have gone further because he was finding the essence of his soul, and he considered killing Yuji his ultimate goal, which he obviously failed. But like, if he had killed Yuji, he could have probably become something even stronger. So, scaling. Well, we don't know what his potential could have been. If he had killed Yuji and been so elated from doing it that he found further into his own soul, his essence, who knows? He could have evolved further down. I don't think he would have ever reached Sukuna tiers, but we really don't know where Mahito would have ended up.
Yeah.
We do know that he evolved to such an extent that Kenjaku was very pleased with how Idle Transfiguration evolved, because Idle Transfiguration evolved to such an extent that Kenjaku was able to overlay it with like a seal that helped him affect all of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But like before that, that would have been possible. The whole point of Kenjaku wanted Mahito to evolve as much as possible before absorbing him.
Yes.
So I think the instant body is a way better argument to scale to the meteor, but even then it's debatable because you could say he's still not provably Jogo level at that point. Maybe he could have been if he had killed Yuji.
Yeah.
Well, this is where I'm about to give one of those rare glazes to one of the fights in that arc. The Jogo vs Sukuna fight in the anime was peak. It was like probably the only fight in that arc and in that entire anime that was better than the manga.
Also, that one gets a fucking pass.
Dude, that fight rules.
To be fair, I do think it's really good. Like, especially how they show a meteor being formed in the anime. That's just cinema.
I would just say, if you believe meteor's the ultimate attack, unless proven otherwise, or unless there's a good reason to believe it, you shouldn't scale it to other characters for ultimate attacks if we're not going to do it across the board. Sukuna obviously dodges it, but I mean, it probably would have done something to him. He never says it wouldn't have hurt him. He just dodges it because, he can't be hit. Also, regarding this...
But Jogo says even that... Oh, go ahead, sir.
Oh. Well, I mean, Jogo's weak, so what does it matter? what does it matter what a...
Jogo says if it had... Jogo says that should have done something, and then Sukuna says, if it hits, kind of mocking him and dodge. So take that as you will. I don't know if you...
I was going to say, I think in the anime he mocks him with that, but in the manga, it's just a generic, if it hit, he would have done something.
Yeah, something along the lines of that. Again, I don't know how much you want to go with that.
Also,
I think for leniency purposes, they're just doing that. The tree calc, I said, that didn't exist at this point.
Oh, hold on. Pimp Demon donated 200 Norwegian dollars. Thank you. Thank you, Pimp Demon. I believe that the whole fingers get stronger has to do with that they are practically impossible to destroy, and every second they get harder to destroy, and not that they get more powerful in a power boost way.
No, that's not accurate.
So
Actually, it's more that they're building up Earth energy,
it
kind of
it's very
over time.
it's very much implied to be a cursed energy thing because Gojo's eyes are why he's referencing it, and also if it was a density thing, I feel like there would have been ways to destroy it.
No, the fingers can't be destroyed in general, and it's just more of a binding valve thing because like Gojo should have the AP to destroy it, and yet admits even one finger he can't do it.
Curse energy to get hard to destroy.
So
no,
yes, but that has to do with the binding.
It would just make more sense to get just more cursed energy as time goes on, because otherwise the statement should have been translated differently. Because I think even the raw Japanese translates to they get stronger or have more energy over time.
We should probably continue. We've been pausing so much on Mahito's section.
It's okay. That's what we're here for.
First, Jogo was able to summon a massive meteor capable of reducing the city of Shibuya to ash.
That'd take an energy of over.
Oh, so the calc for it reducing it to ash is actually a data book statement. It's the very statement talking about the meteor. It does say it could reduce Shibuya to ash. Now, visually, does that ever happen? No.
Which data book are you
but it's using the statement.
Which data book are you guys using exactly?
The same one. The fan book.
Well, okay, because I got a hold of the character profiles, but is this a Japanese guidebook that got translated over, or what are you guys using here?
No. So the English, it's called the JJK fan book. It's the data. It's a data book, and it was translated to English. I own both the Japanese version and the English version on Amazon.
Give me your Gojo.
Whoa, that's
Yeah,
not particularly high. That meteor is not particularly high. That's like just reaching out of large town.
I know, but large town is actually from that statement, though. If you calc it just off of it being made and throwing it, I think it's actually lower than that. I mean, while we continue, I can go get that statement if you want.
Give me the Gojo wink. I need the highest amount of Gojo wink I need for the matchup.
I mean, if you want the highest amount of Gojo wink, just use your Yorozu scaling.
Also, it's $20 in. Is it? Hold on. Oh shit! It is. Thank you, Pimp. I appreciate that.
Here you go. Found it. So, pause. This is the statement for it reducing. This is the Japanese statement, just translated. I could get you like the actual English, like official translated for this a little later.
Okay, no.
But
I think I might have this one actually. Okay, yeah. So this is from the new translated one. Okay, yeah. Then I have everything for Gojo from that one. That's fine. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, I think I have that scan.
If you want to get Gojo the highest, you can do without the black hole. Yorozu or Sukuna's punch in 254. I'm not a fan of the punch anymore. I actually commissioned that calc myself, but it's kinetic energy abuse, to be honest. It's when Jacob's ladder comes down and he punches the rubble. If you assume that via the shading that he punched right as the light from Jacob's ladder is about to touch him, he'd be punching at relativistic speeds. And if you want to apply that to the rubble he sends up, it's like country level. But I don't like it because it's like it's not really a moment that seems like it's supposed to be applying AE, and it's debatable if he punched before Jacob's ladder touched him per se. Yeah. It's kind of oddly framed. Yorozu is a little better, but at the same time might have issues. So Yorozu is
those people you guys
making. Huh?
Those people.
No, I had that calc. No, not DB in general. I had that calc made separate.
I know, but there's people who you can just commission for calcs. Where do you find these people?
I didn't pay. It's just a friend.
Do they accept money?
Anyways, you're not getting a direct connection for this one, Sim. Don't try it.
All right.
Anyways, I'll make Yorozu really quick because they actually bring up Yorozu in the box in the verdict, so I guess it is episode relevant. It's just for leniency, though. They don't actually scale him to Yorozu. So Yorozu makes liquid metal, right? Yes. Construction is her ability, so is Mai's. Based on how construction is worded, especially in the data book, you might be able to argue equals MC squared being applying to construction, in which case you do. perfect sphere is like gigatons, like just off of its creation, the method of creation, because she's basically creating mass from energy. She converts cursed energy into actual physical mass, which actually requires a shit ton of energy to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's not ironclad, and you can argue outlier slash inconsistency or whatever. I don't really mind. I prefer Kenjaku's calc because it's consistent with the tree. It's just I need to get the tree recalced. I need a version of the tree calc that takes into account that the tree is hollow. Probably should be a little lower than 300 megatons, to be honest. Anyways, we can continue.
All right. Let's read some comments real quickly. Am I doing Gojo versus Kenshiro? No, because that would be a stomp. That'd be ridiculous. Mahito is weak. I bet he loses to Jason Asuno, who I barely know anything about. Whoever that is. Cyber's just called a high ball. Doom Guy Slayer versus... Oh, yeah. Doom Guy versus Chief, I believe, is the next death battle. Will he win that death battle? Probably, because death battle will probably give Doom Slayer some good shit. But, Forerunners mainly would disagree.
Especially when, in the throes of struggle against Yuji, he evolved,
let's see.
unlocking a vastly more powerful form. The instant body of distorted killing.
Complete with armored exoskeleton.
Landed a Black Flash in a microsecond. Against that wouldn't be conscious, but whatever. Transfigured 1,000 humans. Survived withstanding Gojo's limited void for 0.2 seconds. Unlimited void is fucking inconsistent, actually, but whatever. I'll talk about that later on.
Actually, no, it's not. There's a volume statement later on during the Sukuna fight, in one of the two volumes, that explains that cursed brains are different and how they interact with unlimited void than humans. Cursed are more resistant to information dumps, according to Akutami in the volume, which is why they can recover quickly from infinite void for 0.2 seconds, where it leaves like people basically brain dead for 6 months.
Yeah.
Look at him. He defeated people who have no feats. Wow.
Defeated enemy, ultimate Mechamaru, Nobara. No, defeated Nobara? Technically, that is correct. Technically. But that was more of a sneak attack. Defeated
I mean,
Toto?
if we're saying no feats, I could technically slap on one feat for two of these people. Nanami's over time destroyed an underground section. Technically, Mahito does. Current Mahito probably scales to it. Like beginning of series, Mahito doesn't scale to it. I mean, it literally you have to regenerate from it. And then Mechamaru does have feats. Early Mechamaru leveled a small part of a forest, which is like calculated like city block.
The name for Mahito's form's a little bit of a mouthful, yeah, 100%. But yeah, Master Chief is gonna win. He'll get Hollow Purple Spartan. What the fuck?
And arm blades. This was a taste of the almighty curse Mahito was growing into. A true blight on all mankind.
It wouldn't last. In a bitter battle of resolve, Yuji won out. In a dog-eat-dog world, there was now a bigger wolf.
So he tucked tail and ran away like a bitch. And what do you know? Life suddenly became a whole lot more meaningful the second it looked like it was about to end.
All that gleeful nihilism, just a bitter hypocrisy in the end.
For him, maybe, but Mahito found a convert in his archenemy. After a battle that wiped out thousands of innocent people, Yuji's youthful spirit was gone. The only thing left that mattered was exorcising this curse.
In a way, that was Mahito's final victory, the destruction of another human being's soul. He may not have been around to see it, but the curse Mahito inflicted on the world would bring it to its knees.
I mean, to be clear, he is around to see. Well, he's like not physically there, but the conversation with Sukuna at the end of the story kind of makes it clear that he's aware of what happened in.
I think they just worded it for cinematic purpose. I mean, it's a good way to end that rundown.
Probably, yeah, but technically inaccurate. That battle really ignored.
I mean, the real inaccurate. Oh, good. Sorry.
All for one info dump about the Vistage. Daryl, we'll talk about that in a moment. What were you gonna say, Cyber?
I said the real inaccuracy is saying that he permanently damaged Yuji's viewpoint, because that didn't stick. I mean, that sticked for a month, or I guess 2 months technically.
Which is one chapter in JJK.
But it didn't last. It last. I mean, if we're being real, it lasted from 136 all the way until midway, technically close to the end of the Sukuna fight. Chozo's death is basically what ends up snapping Yuji back into reality, kind of, or away from the what do you call it? The mindset. What did he call it? Cog mindset. So what chapter did Chozo die? I can't remember. It was two. Was it 257? I think 257.
It's what? It's like what at the end of the Culling games.
I think it's 257. So like
Yeah.
130. So yeah, it took like what 121 chapters for Yuji. Okay, I guess Mahito did leave in that state for quite a while. So I guess you can say that's a W for Mahito.
He never really talks or shows a lot about Mahito's impact on him because Yuji just remains the same character throughout most of the story. Like every time there's character growth, he kind of just goes back to being the same sort of goofball after like a few chapters.
Or, I mean, wants to kill himself in calling games, and that sticks pretty much. He was even considering dying in Shinjuku until Chozo's death is basically what snaps him out of it.
I didn't see him offering to take on Kenjaku alone. That's crazy. Man's willing to die.
Technically,
I didn't see him taking on the hard fight, Cyber. That's all I'm saying. Everyone else had a hard fight. Where was Yuji's hard fight?
I mean, Takaba's the only. If you want to be that direct, Takaba's the only one that took on the solo fight.
All right, hang on. All right, let's get to the fight.
Little cool thing you'll see with Shiggy in just a moment. Pause it when Mahito touches his face. Now, okay, see the guy with the scar?
Yeah.
That is the vestige for the fourth one for all user, the one that has danger sense. Remember in Shigaraki's rundown they mentioned that he stole danger sense? So, watch what happens.
Okay, so they're saying he destroyed the danger sense there, it looks like. That's actually kind of cool though, I like that.
You'll be seeing that a few more times.
Just to be clear, was this the guy who did Bowser vs. Eggman or no?
Yes, this is Moro.
Okay, yeah.
His sister actually did the character arts for the people dying at the beginning.
I'd heard of a powerful villain stalking these parts. My organization is going to tear this putrid world down.
Let's see if the
around
actual
us.
animation's
We
better.
could
It
use
wasn't
a
really sold
freak
in
of
the
your
initial
talents.
picture,
Little old me. Do I want to be king of the social?
I think Bowser Eggman has better animation, but I still really like this one.
Fine by me.
Bowser Eggman had more time to cook.
Your audition.
Bowser Eggman had more time to cook.
Okay.
I really like the setup for this fight, and then especially like Shigaraki's voice acting.
Game over.
Did you actually just say that? God, how lame!
But I don't know if you noticed the purple shade breaking apart, but
Audition over. Did I get the part? Decay! What a rush!
Okay, so that goes into the I will say, that actual monster form of Shigaraki actually looks pretty nice.
I mean that's what happens in the manga.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean in the anime too.
but like, it's pretty cool.
Got.
I'm not
What the
rocking with
fuck
that
is
AI
this?
You don't have YouTube. You don't have
I
no
don't have
ads. I
premium.
see.
But But this is the first time the commercials happen in the middle of the fight, I think.
Domain expansion.
Moro did all of that by hand.
No, yeah, like it looks like it.
Although,
I can read your soul. You're just a scared little boy whose daddy was mean and wants to make it everyone else's problem. Grow up.
Hands off my masterpiece.
the one time AFO has sauce.
Ooh, okay.
I felt your soul too. You only hate humanity because you were born that way. Totally random. I hate them for a reason. You grow up.
Good animation. Good animation.
What did
I really
say,
like the
Liz?
train fight.
Like a
Yeah,
bitch.
the train
With
fight was
their
pretty good.
complex power sets, this match was a puzzle to figure out, which is why we're breaking.
No,
down
it wasn't.
every
Let's be very clear here. When they said that, I said audibly.
I mean, they say
bullshit.
that all
I
the
wasn't
time. At
like-
this point, I don't. They say that all the time. It's just kind of like a selling thing. It's for casuals.
Me and Zim were talking about this for like the last 3 weeks. This literally came down to can Shigaraki fuck with souls? Yes, then he wins. No, then Mahito wins eventually.
Oh, that actually reminds me. I need to.
I
I
mean,
need to
like-
touch base with you on Toji in the other guy's domain at some point, Kyle, because we were actually wrong about the insta hit in that domain. But we'll talk about that a little later.
Anyways, let's go.
Yeah. So good animation. I'm not gonna criticize too much about the fight goes because that's just for the fight. So let's see what they have to say because I do want to see how they
physical
talk about the
stats,
main expansion.
survivability, and their powers.
But first, let's address one thing. Could Shigaraki even see Mahito? He's an invisible curse after all.
Cursed energy and quirks are notably different, and Shigaraki wouldn't be able to see curses normally. However, even regular humans can spontaneously develop the ability to see
No,
curses in
stop.
life and death scenarios.
Stop.
So
The second reason they give for him seeing Mahito is what they should have gone with. This they shouldn't have brought up whatsoever because this is just for humans in Jujutsu Kaisen.
not Versi.
I think like
No, I don't care. It's
I
only
think
for
if you
humans.
argue it's only for Jews.
No,
humans
if you
in
go
Jujutsu
down this
Kaisen.
route, then whenever they eventually put a Hunter x Hunter character in, you have to make the argument that they would activate their Nen pause, even though they would never get Nen pause because they're not from Hunter x Hunter.
I can see where you're going for that. I honestly think this section should have been a little bit different. I did a huge write-up for why he would be able to see them. I can send it to you if you want, but we don't have to spend too much time on it. I think there would have been something better, to be honest. So, Shigaraki in My Hero Academia can see the vestiges inside of Izuku. Initially, it's stated because it's one for all for one were resonating, but later he alludes to that Search specifically could see the phantoms, and then Izuku actually takes that to his advantage. So what he does is he uses a black whip tendril and he overlays it with his blood, right?
Yeah.
And he has one of the vestiges reside in the blood. Don't ask me how that's possible. And then Shigaraki confuses it because so what Izuku does is he spreads out smoke screen, right? And Shigaraki's like, well, no, duh, I can still see the vestige right there. That's obviously you. And he grabs it, and it turns out it's the scarf, like the cowl from that like Izuku has around his neck usually. He had taken it off, attached it to the black whip, put his blood on it, and then had like one of his vestiges in the blood to throw Shigaraki off. Search basically got confused because Shigaraki thought he was still seeing one of the souls, which he was. It just wasn't on like Izuku's direct body at the time. So that proves that Search can see souls. Izuku just used it to his advantage in that moment.
Yes.
So honestly, I probably would have gone with. If I was writing, I would have gone with that. It's a lot more direct than just saying Search and then the death thing. It literally Izuku's. I mean, it's literally Shigaraki seeing souls, and I mean, funny enough, it being used against him in that one moment. But it's like really clear cut evidence for him like being able to see souls.
Daryl. So Cyber touched on this earlier in the stream. If you end up checking it out later, but basically for the quirks and soul situation, in comparison, they argue it's close enough because apparently the word spirits and stuff is used in several other in the more expanded medium, but they also
You want me
point
to do
out-
it really quick?
Do you want to do a quick recap? I was like, because
Yeah. So early, really early on in My Hero, like vestiges are like more sci-fi, but like Hiro Toshi kind of backtracks on that and makes it way more supernatural by the end of the series. They're more like artificial souls born from like physical information. They're like treated as spirits later on. They're like directly called spirits. The damage they do is called spiritual damage when each coup is using like the forced attempt at transferring them into Shigaraki. In the fourth film, like Izuku and his cat. By the way, the films are explicitly stated by the author to all be canon. But like in the fourth film, Izuku and his friends are trapped in a dream world where like his vestiges call everyone trapped there like spirits, including themselves. Like directly including the like if you check the Japanese, they use the word spirit. Like All for One's vestiges stated that like it tried to take over Shigaraki's soul. He calls the damage to Shigaraki's body from the punches that like hit Shigaraki's soul spiritual damage. Yada yada yada. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of evidence for them being artificial souls by the end of the series. And a direct comparison with JJK, a really easy one, Panda. Yaga, when he dies in the manga, says that Panda was born from taking physical data from the body, like people's bodies or whatever, and then putting it into cores and making the cores observe each other. That being the two other siblings of Panda that live within his
Yeah.
Kishimo killed. They all view each other, and that caused their souls to kind of like gain sentience. It's kind of similar how like the more vestiges were added to one for all, the more the more the vestiges within kind of became self-aware. So it's kind of almost one to one, not entirely, but close enough. I'd say that it's very easy to equalize.
Yeah.
They're literally like. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. So that's the position, as Cyber pointed out there. So if you don't buy that, that's just gonna be a personal preference. I haven't done research into My Hero Academia enough to dispute it. But if they're calling it souls and they're using soul and spirit consistently, at least in the later half of the story, I would just say the author just wants them to be considered that way. And Panda's a good example, but souls in JJK is up for debate whether or not there's a soul or it's just the body is the soul. It's weird.
And with the surge quirk,
Curses are invisible due to existing in a different spectrum of light that what normal people can see. Extrasensory abilities like Shigaraki's that do not rely on visible light would be unimpeded.
Shigaraki would have had no problem tracking it.
So seeing Mahito wouldn't
You want me to
have been an
explain
issue
that one
with
really
that
quick or
out
not?
of the way.
No, it's fine. Because I'm assuming he has like quirks that can see in different, like the air pressure and stuff like that. Because that's how Maki can see them technically.
Yeah, so the logistics for that is Kenjaku says in like chapter 200, 201 that like and when he's like giving the glasses to the US like the president and the US congressional staff explains that the curses just exist on another spectrum of light that the normal human brain can't perceive, right? And then like it's stated by All for One that he has quirks that can view different like spectrums of light. In one of the chapters where he's fighting Endeavor, that's how he kind of like sees in his damaged state, and we know that like Shigaraki inherited that. And then like the environment would also be another one because he like has a quirk that can like pick up on vibrations, and that's how Maki like interacts with Noya. Literally does the same thing, like sensing through the environment.
Yeah, because that's how Maki and Toji fight curses. Accepting that Uri
Yeah.
time reverse quirk can revive the previous one for all users is dumb not gonna lie by Touch Deku. I'm not sure what the fuck all that's all about, but I'm gonna assume Eri just does too. Can Mahito's curse take-
Probably referring to like so. They're not going to elaborate. I'm assuming what being referenced here in the question is, so Izuku's soul when finishes battering through Shigaraki's shield of hatred and finally like gets one to one, like actually like touching Shigaraki's soul. Izuku stays holding Shigaraki's hands, and Shigaraki decays his hands. And then when they cut back to the real world, and they're going to point this out in the verdict in a moment, Izuku's arms are missing on his body.
Yeah.
So like the damage done to Izuku's vestige, and he even calls it his own vestige. Technically, it's his own soul. Which I think is even more evidence that they're souls, because the funny thing is he shouldn't. If we're saying that vestiges are purely like uh, a genetic copy of the prior user, it wouldn't make any sense, because One for All is not Izuku's original quirk, in the same way that the stupid decay retcon makes it so that Shigaraki, it wasn't Shigaraki's to begin with. Their decay and One for All respectively don't have their own vestige for their wielder. Izuku doesn't have a vestige that's tied to One for All. Shigaraki doesn't have a copy of himself that's tied to decay. Yet their souls, quote unquote, interacting are still called like vestiges in a way. So like vestiges are very clearly in supposed to be, from a narrative standpoint, in that fight, souls. And the fact that Izuku's arms are destroyed and it reflects on the damage is evidence for like spiritual damage, like very similar to Idol the Transfiguration actually. Ares just built different. Literally her horn, like her abilities literally just break the logic of the burst, and that's like a very consistent thing with her.
Okay.
Funny enough, I could think of a comparison. There's a whole ETSO debate whether or not like TSO in Naruto destroys souls because of like Minato missing his arms and like Sakura being able to heal her wound. Very funny, almost like 1-to-1, honestly. But like Ares' horn, like literally rewinds time. So I can totally buy it, like restoring the arms.
All right. Can Mahito's curse technique work on Fire Force / Soul Eater verse? Kyle, do they have any resistance to Transfiguration?
Fuck no. Especially
Apparently
not
they do.
Soul Eater. Where Soul Eater, when like manipulating the soul is just
Fire
like
Force, maybe. Souls become more of a thing towards the end of Fire Force. It would absolutely not work on Shinra Bonshaman. Shinra, first of all, has like perfect control over souls in a way, like being able to bring them back. It would literally have like Shinra Bonshaman would have like such a good control of his soul that Mahito never would ever be able to manipulate in the first place.
I wouldn't even go that far. I would literally just say that they're so disgustingly fast that Mahito would never see them or touch them.
I'm just approaching the question from the standpoint if Mahito laid his hands on them in the first place.
But talking about Soul Eater, like manipulating the soul in Soul Eater is just like that's kind of like the stock standard for the verse.
You're free to continue.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was reading some good literature. All right. But let us continue. Toji fights Curse Different Maki. No, he doesn't.
And we can jump into their stats.
This was no contest.
Mahito continuously scaled to Mai and Yuzuri's construction techniques due to his status as a special grade disaster curse, but these would not surpass Shigaraki's strength. All right.
Despite the disaster curses being able to.
This is the one I was telling you about them being super lenient with the Yorozu thing.
Yeah.
Shigaraki scaling to Deku and Bakugo meant he was calculably millions of times stronger.
He was faster too.
Mahito could potentially scale the relativistic and lightspeed feats from Jujutsu Kaisen's final arc due to keeping up with Todo, but these would still not surpass Shigaraki's speed. Yeah.
Go on, Zim.
Bullshit.
Get him.
Okay. Before either of you two go on the way, this one's actually debatable. So like the logic for it is extremely simple. Todo didn't. The stupidity that is the whole Yuji didn't know about Todo thing, like heavily implies Todo was actively like training with the group. More so was just training to restore his curse technique via the prosthetic. So the argument is that Todo doesn't have any notable like evidence that he got any faster or stronger, yet can like move in the same speed Yuji does against Sukuna. Yada yada, can eat. Took 2 whole black flashes from Sukuna to put him down. So like the argument is Mahito scales to Todo from Shibuya. Yeah. No proof that Todo got any stat changes in Shinjuku. Therefore, backscale. I don't entirely agree with it. I think there's a narrative notion for a character.
Go ahead.
I'd also like to point out that people need to be super careful trying to scale anyone to Sukuna after the Gojo fight, because he is heavily injured, he is heavily tired, and he's still able to fuck everyone up. He should have won. The verse should have ended with him winning.
I'm just going to state for the record that and the other characters will have gotten stronger, and Todo can keep up with them consistently, and there's no reason to believe that any version of Sukuna up until the very last couple of chapters would be inferior or even close to Mahito in strength.
Okay, so like to add, I do agree with the notion that Toto probably trained, or at least like there's a narrative basis with calling games and Shibuya for characters to just get stronger, even if they don't know. Like Ino, who should be complete fodder and technically still even is in the Sukuna fight, still survives attacks from Sukuna. Oddly enough, like multiple dismantles. It's really weird. Like the whole point of it from a narrative basis, and I'm not saying it's good writing. Akutami is trying to point at like the new generation getting progressively stronger. It ties in with the whole thing Gojo's trying to tell Yuji in the final chapter is that there doesn't need to be a next Gojo. Whether or not that's good writing is entirely a different.
Oh no,
Uh,
it's not good writing. I can vote for that.
again,
Or-
entirely separate discussion.
no, because
Uh,
it's not even from a positive aspect. It's from a story aspect of like because the only person he ever built up was Gojo. It makes everyone in the final fight. There's no one believable who can take him down. You can't believe anyone.
All right.
I will
Because no
say
one's been
this.
built up.
I know you mentioned that Sukuna was weakened, right? The funny thing is that the debatable FTL stuff technically does happen from two different versions of a weakened Sukuna, one better than the other, but still both weakened. Whether or not the main cast scales to that is debatable because there's multiple ways to view that. And then there's if you really want to say that Mahito could scale to anything light speed, there's the debatable like relativistic thing when he
So
punches the ground with the Jacob's ladder, because Toto does move in tandem with that version of Sukuna. But again, debatable if that should even backscale back to Shibuya, which I really don't think it should.
so when it comes to the
FTL?
to the electric waves argument, the best I've gotten to with Zim is let's wait to see how the anime portrays it, whether or not it's aim dodging or whether or not he's actually dodging.
No, because it doesn't matter.
Okay, so I have a solution for this. I have a solution for this, maybe, although I don't know all of Zim's counter arguments. I think if you want to argue aim dodging for Megkuna, it's fine. I personally don't think it is because, like, you can see the flash coming out of Kashima's hand wouldn't make much. And then there's the dodge. I mean, we don't see the dodge in full motion, but the point is, like, there's a close up of Sukuna's face with the flash. Really wouldn't make much sense to me, at least if it's an aim dodge. I don't really. That's the first one. There is another one. So when World Slash happens, we're told what Kishimo can technically do in his like mythic Amber Beast form. Not that feat. That's the one that's the debatable aim dodge. I'm talking about the very next chapter. When Sukuna does his World Slash, Kashimo fires
Yeah.
a vague
Yeah, hang on. I
thing
know
that could be EM waves.
Yeah, hang on.
And then Sukuna is so much faster than it in his incarnated. Yes, Sukuna is so much faster in his incarnated state. He has enough time to do a full incantation and then blitz the whole thing with World Dismantle.
Yeah.
This
one
it
is
doesn't
more valid.
really have any. Yeah, so that I've have that I commissioned that to be calced. That is roughly 6 times the speed of light.
Oh, can you do us a favor and break Devil's Heart and tell us why Kashimo is the third strongest in the verse?
Like, we don't even know if Cyber stands by that, Kyle, but that's a whole nother discussion for another day. Relax.
I refuse.
Just
I
stronger
refuse
than
to
Utah.
touch Kashima's scaling.
Just stronger than Utah.
I will say this. You can definitely say that it's debatable if anyone scales to that what you just showed me.
Yeah.
That specific feat for 2 reasons. One, every punch from Yuji is explicitly stated, especially during the Yuta fight. It's stated that it actually affects Sukuna's physical movement too.
Yeah.
So you could argue every punch that Yuji hits Sukuna with can, in theory, slow him down. So you can't really say that Team Shibuya, Team Shinjuku scales to that feat. Now, there is a second way to look at it. World Slash, if you want to argue, or the World Dismantle, if you want to argue that it really shouldn't lower in speed regardless. The slash, I mean. Maki does arguably deal with it. So in the first chapter where they start fighting, Sukuna does the same incantation he does for World Dismantle. I've seen people argue that incantation is probably just for a powered up Dismantle. My issue with that is the Gojo fight shows that every different move has its own incantation. And Sukuna only ever uses one incantation and one incantation only. only for World Dismantle, and he uses that incantation every single time he uses the slash. When he does it with Maki, Maki's able to perceive it because of her, extrasensory ability, and after Sukuna uses the slash, she dodges it. So, if you want to argue, the argument I would do is this. World Slash is fast enough to blitz EM waves to such an extent it's 6 times faster than light. Maki later dodges the same slash after it has been fired, and it's not an aim dodge because it's after it was fired.
I'm not sure if I would agree with the latter one scaling to the former, but we can discuss that at a later point.
Yeah, we can discuss it another time. I think if you wanted to argue against it, your best bet is to say that maybe his World Slash got slower since he's at this point he's taken multiple UG punches.
I would just argue the potency of techniques as fights go on just drops, since not only is Yuta and Gojo's body, which is relatively fresh, not able to fully utilize Hollow Purple because he's unfamiliar with it, and he's also not able to control the power correctly. But also, Sukuna's under the impression that another Hollow Purple hit would kill him, and it doesn't, even after getting Black Flash, because of how weak Gojo has gotten over the course of the fight. And I'm sure there's other examples in JJK too, but yeah, that's just...
I don't think the Hollow Purple was weak because of Gojo getting weak. I think it was weak because he didn't do it right. If you look at the chapter right as he fires, you know how Hollow Purple has the two overlay perfectly? Blue and red? When Yuta does it, they don't. It's actually, if you go back, you can do this on your own time. Look at how he does it. They don't overlay perfectly. So that's why it was a botched Hollow Purple.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, so there are differences. The point is that there are...
So Yuta isn't him.
No, Yuta is not him. Absolutely not. The point is that there are differences in how techniques can be done, or how energy affects the techniques that would change their properties. I'm not sure if I would 100% agree on that one. But we were supposed to get another data book for this fucking series after the series was done, but I don't think we've gotten that data book yet.
That was actually never announced. It was actually announced for MHA, but the MHA one was delayed, but we're still getting it in May.
I was under the impression there was a JJK announcement, but I guess it might have been a leak or something.
No, there was, but it wasn't for this. It was how they released an anime book for JJK season 1?
Yeah.
They did it for season 2, but it's Japan only right now.
Oh, okay.
Mahito's Black Flash capped out at nearly 1,000 times the speed of sound.
Oh, what does that black box say?
Mahito could potentially scale the relativistic and light speed feats from Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh yeah, we already did that.
Yeah.
But Shiggy was thousands of times faster. Shigaraki takes stats.
But survivability was a little trickier to figure out.
Yep, in terms of raw durability, Shigaraki was a lot tougher, and his ability to generate new
Transfiguration's unique ability, Nullifier Generation, reverse curse technique, is predicated on it damaging souls. Mahito could not ascertain and directly target the super regeneration vestige. Therefore, he cannot stop Shigaraki from healing body injuries. All right.
This one is more debatable. It is possible. So, Star and Stripes shows it is possible to destroy the vestige responsible for regen. It's actually stated in one of the volume extras for a later My Hero volume that in her rampage inside of his body, she destroyed it, and then he had to steal one of the super regeneration quirks from one of his Nomus, which brought back super regeneration back to full potency, right? So it is possible to destroy it. But if we're going on the notion that, it'll be hard for Mahito to find them. So the thing I have always found weird with this argument is that technically Idol Transfiguration targets every soul at once. It's why it led to, and if you can, actually I'll let you continue because that's going to lead into something that we're going to do right now. So go ahead.
Flash meant that he could heal any wounds he might receive super easy.
However, Mahito is a curse and is immune to the kind of overwhelming physical damage Shigaraki could dish out. Not only that, Mahito's regenerative ability via Idol Transfiguration meant that he'd come back from anything short of spiritual damage.
Considering Mahito's unique curse body, he should actually get the edge in survivability.
Which presents a crucial question. Could Shigaraki even kill a curse like Mahito in the first place?
Or would Mahito's unkillability give him the time he needed to eventually put Shiggy down with Idol Transfiguration?
It all comes down to their powers.
Shigaraki had a lot more variety with all of the crazy quirks All For One had collected over all the years, but none that we know of could properly kill a curse. That didn't mean Idol Transfiguration was a surefire bet either, though.
Of all things, Shigaraki's vestiges served as a
Shigaraki survived multiple one-for-all transfer attacks from Deku, which directly attacked the soul and reflected identical damage on the body, just like Ouch's transfiguration. His body evolved to counter these punches automatically. Alright.
A spiritual shield from the effects
So
of
that
idol
last bit,
transfiguration.
that
Go on.
if you pause for just a sec, so that last part, his body evolved. So what it means is, when Izuku first used I like to call it overlay punch. That's like the fanon name for it. It's the attempt to like forcibly transfer one for all, right, in a very dangerous manner. The one that goes straight to hit the soul. So when that happens, Shigaraki doesn't know at that time what it will do. All he knows is that it feels weird. He can tell. He cuts off his own arm when Izuku first starts like thinking of using it. He says that something feels on. He doesn't want to risk physical contact with Izuku. And when Izuku finally gets the drop on him by, you know how I said he tricked him using one of the vestiges?
Yeah.
He gets the time to try and punch him. When he does, right before he connects, Shigaraki's body evolution kicks in and a bunch of arms start forming. And he doesn't know why. All Shigaraki knows at this time is that his own body is rejecting what's coming. So evolution, as I like to call it, can somehow perceive something Shigaraki could not. His own body will react to something that would have harmed his own spirit. And we know it's spiritual damage beyond the whole confirmation from AFO, because when later on Izuku says that, and I quote, his intent was to damage Shigaraki and AFO's spirit to weaken them. He uses the word spiritual damage. It's the same in Japanese. If you translate it, it even says spirit. So Izuku's intention from the get-go was not to kill Shigaraki, but to weaken him by constantly causing spiritual damage, right? Yeah. Yet, he eventually does pull it off, but it's literally only because, like, he literally was as fast as necessary to consistently tag Shigaraki, and it nearly killed him.
All right.
So, like, Mahito is not going to be able to constantly touch Shigaraki with idle transfiguration. The fact that keep going, I'll let you keep going.
Shigaraki's vestiges served as a spiritual shield from the effects of idol transfiguration. The fact that Mahito could not avoid targeting Sukuna while attacking Yuji meant that he couldn't target specific souls inside a person.
And Shiggy has
Yes and no on that one, but we'll see what.
hundreds of soul-like entities inside of him. Sure,
Actually,
he's
pause.
going down.
To elaborate on the Sukuna thing, I don't know if you've picked up on it, but the same volume that occurs, Akutami drew these 3 pages where it's supposed to explain what happened. So it's drawn in a very cartoonish manner that, like, Sukuna is the owner of a restaurant, right? Yeah. And Mahito is coming in. So it's a restaurant, and Sukuna calls Mahito a customer. And he says, "Don't touch me, customer." And he basically says, "I told you not to touch me," and he pushes him back. So basically the way it's explaining is that Mahito's the customer in this case. Sukuna is the restaurant owner. So Mahito's coming into his innate domain, which is the restaurant in this comparison. Yes. And Sukuna is rejecting it.
Yes.
So it's nothing super fancy or anything, but it is. I do agree with where they're going with this. So I won't stop you anymore. Only part I'll stop you is the black box for the hate shield.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, because I'm just going to flat out state for the record, that would not
means
be
he
the
loses
situation, but
a quirk, but that's more than enough time to land a single hit with Decay.
Yeah,
especially
Shigaraki's still powerful enough anyways, if you want to argue that, like, other souls can fuck with it like that.
Considering how much faster Shiggy is.
And Mahito has no way to defend against.
Okay, yeah, pause on that one. So there's going to be 2 more black boxes. This one, and then there's one more after this. Go ahead and read it if you want.
Alright, even if Shigaraki could not target spiritual matter, Nanami states that a curse like Mahito would still die after expending all their cursed energy. Given Shigaraki's massive physical advantages, arsenal abilities, and proven 45-day stamina versus Higanto. I'm not
Gigantomachia.
Do you want me to pronounce that for you?
No, it's okay. Sorry, we beat you to it. He easily wins the war of attrition. Alright. Let's see.
And Shigaraki's primary quirk. Decay has a...
hang on. Aren't they ignoring Mahito's straight up talk to Sukuna, recognizing him as one of the souls in the domain? So shouldn't there be a good chance he sees through all the souls directly to the original one? I think what you could maybe argue is that Mahito would be aware of each individual soul, but probably not what they do. And that's where I think that battle's coming in, that, like, even if Mahito starts killing off the souls, he would have no way of knowing what their powers are inherently. Unless, if you do believe souls and quirks are close enough, he'd be able to know what their powers are just by looking at their soul, theoretically. But
He could, but if you do that, he would just outright die. You're opening the door at that point for a Star Stripes interaction for occurring, except Mahito is not as resilient. And he would literally just be torn to
Spiritual
shreds
beings
by
in the
vestiges.
past. Again,
I'm just
Well,
wondering
I
why
brought,
you-
Vestiges.
I brought this up before you showed up, but I said to Zim, like, depending on how they want to argue this, and how All for One can take vestiges and souls, couldn't he just turn Mahito into one of these vestiges and just use him?
In fact, he was able
That's
to
a funny
damage-
argument because the way it's similar to they brought up earlier that the way that Shigaraki took Danger Sense was literally like so the way it's shown is that when he touched Izuku the first time, his hand comes down into the One for All world and was gonna grab all of them. And then the user, the fourth, the one that's responsible for Danger Sense, because of Danger Sense, he's able to perceive it happening. He pushes everyone away and his vestige is grabbed. You could argue it's a metaphorical thing, it's saying that it's like the quirk factor that was stolen, but like the way it's visually shown is showing that like the vestige was stolen, therefore the quirk was stolen. If you want to go with the Mahito route, I'm not sure I agree that it would be one-to-one Kenjaku's absorption. Kenjaku's absorption is very specific. It works only on curses, and the curse needs to be weakened,
Deku's
yada yada yada.
vestige and have that
I can see the logic.
damage
Here they're
transferred
saying
to-
that Deku's arms took the damage with like his spirit or his vestige like lost the arms. It transferred into the physical world.
Curse spirits.
That was chapter 418.
Curse spirits can physically or can make themselves immaterial to phase through walls. Can Shiggy physically decay Mahito? Theoretically,
No,
if he
so
took himself,
that's actually that's not true. So there's actually a volume extra from Akutami and early on where he's explaining the phasing thing. He explicitly says that it's curses with extremely low curse energy that can turn immaterial,
Yeah.
and he specifies that curses like special grades cannot.
I was gonna say.
So Mahito
he
actually
never
cannot
demonstrates
turn
that
immaterial.
ability, so there'd be no reason to assume he could do
the
it.
Deku in the real world.
Mahito may be made of spirit energy, but he still has a physical form. In fact, source
Shigaraki's soul is additionally shielded by barrier pure hatred, distinct from his soul itself. All transfiguration has been blocked by an enemy's cursed energy, which is born from negative emotions like hatred. Oh,
Don't continue. No. This is actually really good. Let me explain why. So the hate shield, Kudo explains, is separate from Shigaraki's soul.
Yeah.
It was created by Shigaraki after he broke out of All for One's control initially. So the way he explains is it's made of several things. It's made of emotions. It's made of hatred. It's made of Shigaraki's memories. It's made out of every negative aspect Shigaraki has ever experienced, every negative emotion he has.
Yes.
But it is not his soul. It is distinct from his soul. Consider it like a lid over his soul. And in order to touch his soul in the first place, which Izuku wanted to do, to weaken Shigaraki and hopefully that Shigaraki would surrender, Shigaraki has to break through the hate shield.
Yes.
So in order to do that, he's sacrificing his vestiges. That's why the overlay punch is so... The overlay punch hits the lid, and one by one, they slowly manage to hit Shigaraki deep down by breaking through the shield. But it takes multiple attempts. Shigaraki is able to further overlay the shield with pieces of his mental world, which you have the same data book. They explain in JJK's data book that the innate domain is a mental landscape.
Yes.
And that's the exact same terminology used for Shigaraki's mental world. They actually bring up its own kind of like, it's very similar to an innate domain. So you have the hate shield covering his soul. You have him being able to use parts of his mental, like a realm to overlay on top of it to further protect himself.
Yes.
The only reason Izuku was able to even pierce the shield in the first place, it had a small scar on it left by Star and Stripes' rampage. And consider that all the damage she did, all she managed to do was a small scar.
Yes.
Izuku wouldn't have been able to do squat if it wasn't for the scar. So Izuku got past the shield eventually, and him overlaying it with like his mental landscape, right? Broke through. Shigaraki has another layer of defense called the origin space. So in that, it's kind of like it looks like his childhood home. And in the childhood home in the area, Nana explains that any damage Izuku takes here is physical. He almost gets hit by a car, and it's treated as physical. And then Shigaraki is able to manifest these shades his memories that take on the form of like an evil-looking Izuku, and then later like Stain and like Redestro, and Izuku has to physically avoid them to make it even further in. And even then, his soul is further protected by one more barrier that required Nana to sacrifice herself in one final like overlaid um transfusion. It destroyed every remnant of the hate shield and allowed Izuku to touch Shigaraki's soul. And then what happened afterwards is Izuku lost his arms, and Shigaraki's soul took damage. So they both ended up damaging each other.
So, in layman's terms, Shigaraki has multiple
Mahito would
layers
have to
of-
do a shit ton of work to reach
He has
Shigaraki's soul as well.
Yeah, so he basically has multiple layered shields over his soul.
Yes, and this is ignoring that what I said prior. His body automatically reacts to attacks to his soul, so Mahito has to avoid the swarm of hands, which, by the way, all of them can transfer decay. It's stated in the series that like all the arms can and release decay. We're talking like hundreds of meters worth of arms that can spread decay all over Mahito's surface area, and they're able to like act independently of Shigaraki's own will to defend him from soul-based attacks. And this is also ignoring the vestiges, which can act as some level of defense. Granted, I think the vestiges are like the worst kind of defense. Given their fight with Starred Stripes, I think like All for One's vestige. I think All for One's vestige is like the defense. All for One's weird because like he would want to defend Shigaraki's body in the sense that Shigaraki is his masterpiece. He doesn't care so much about Shigaraki's own soul, but he has to make sure that Shigaraki's body survives. Ain't no way he's letting Mahito transfigure that. Not after spending 15 years.
This sounds metal as fuck. I might actually pick up My Hero at some point.
I'm not really hearing anything that beats the domain expansion ability or innate insta hit ability though. So
we'll get to that. So
Alright.
everything I just explained for the hate shield is akin to like Nanami subconsciously shielding his soul with curse energy. Curse energy, like so, the way Nanami did it was subconscious. It wasn't even like attempting to, and it was just his curse energy overlaying on top of his soul to block the attempt. Mahito does say a few more touches would suffice, but like this is really close to the ideal overlay punch situation where Izuku has to sacrifice 8 or so vestiges to break the hate shield and still had to take. Go ahead.
Well, you are right. The example you're providing, if I remember correctly, is outside of the domain. The second he goes into the domain.
Okay, yeah, we can tackle the domain.
Yeah, Nanami literally says, "I'm in the palm of his hands. I'm basically fucked now."
Yeah. So we'll discuss the domain. So let them go forward with the rest of the video, and then we'll discuss the domain.
Spirit energy, but he still has a physical form. In fact, sorcerers that couldn't naturally target the soul were able to fight him on even footing. No reason to think Shiggy wouldn't decay him like everyone else.
Giving Shigaraki the third and final edge. It was a unique duel to the death, but Shigaraki's overwhelming might, unstoppable powers, and deadly decay spelled the end for the disaster.
Okay, so it looks
Okay,
like they're
so
not gonna touch
we
anything
can
else.
let's do the domain now. Let's do the domain now. Let's do 0.2 first, because I see a lot of people bring that up a lot in time. Not in this conversation, but 0.2 gets wanked to oblivion. So 0.2 is argued that since Sukuna couldn't do anything to Mahito in that moment, then he could just use that. So that's ignoring that he couldn't actually use it on Yuji, or he still would have risked his own demise. He had to specifically target Toto, and he only had enough time to hit Toto's arm,
Yes.
and then his curse technique burned out, and he needed to use a Black Flash to restore it.
Yes.
Granted, Mahito has really quick restoral time, like Mekamaru, he did a domain, and then literally was able to use like, Idle Transfiguration right after.
Yes.
So the point is, he's not going to be able to use. He either decides to go with a full domain or a 0.2. He's stuck with either or. He can't do both. It takes 10 days, according to him, to regain enough curse energy to use domain expansion again, which is why I say he has really shitty regulation. Anyways, getting to the point, 0.2 is not going to do squat. At best, your best argument is that it can affect maybe one body part for Shigaraki. He has enough time. And honestly, Mahito could. I mean, Shigaraki can still blitz him while he's attempting. He's way faster. But let's say he hits it, right? Shigaraki has 2 ways around permanent damage left by actually hypothetically 3 ways. So the first one is evolution. Evolution is capable of growing new body parts, including an entire new upper torso and head, including brain, for Shigaraki, even if his regeneration has been turned off. In the fight in UA, his so Aizawa turned off hyper regeneration with his quirk, and Deku Donut Hold Shigaraki left a huge hole through Shigaraki's entire chest. So what Shigaraki did was like evolution kicked in and caused a massive energy explosion that destroyed the entire like upper dome of UA's like stadium. And when the smoke was cleared, the entire upper chest was gone. It had the skin on the upper chest had been like ripped off, and it was now like permanently on like hanging from like Shigaraki's lower torso. And Shigaraki grew a new head and a new torso and new arms. So it does come with a catch. To do something like that, it does weaken his durability significantly to the point that Nagant was able to blow off his arms with their bullets. I mean, granted, his durability went back to normal shortly afterwards, but like doing something like that was a little overtaxing. But the point is, evolution can still grow body parts while his regeneration is being negated. That's the first method. He has 2 more. The second one is still a really good counter to idle transfiguration. So AFO shows in chapter 423 that even if Shigaraki is reduced to like basically only 20% of his body remaining, like half of his head, half of his brain, maybe a few, like 1 arm, nothing left of his torso, he can use like rivet stab to like release these metallic parts from any remaining piece of his body to hold his dying body together, and he's still able to use his quirks while in that state. If really push comes to shove, AFO can take over and use the AFO quirk to try and move his soul into another body. He actually tried to do that to Izuku.
Yeah.
Once he figured Shigaraki's body was done, was basically a lost cause, he tried to move his soul into Izuku's body.
Yeah.
So that's another thing he can do. And then the third one is a little bit more hypothetical. You know how I brought up that Soul Katana is similar to to Idle Transfiguration and can still be healed by someone who knows the outline of their own soul?
Yeah.
So there's something similar in My Hero. Basically, Nana was able to put Shigaraki's soul back together after AFO detonated it. So what ends up happening is, after Izuku weakens Shigaraki's body by damaging his soul, but explicitly does not kill him, because that was never his intention, AFO basically at this point figures, you know what, screw it, and uses his trump card, which was an option that he had to destroy Shigaraki's remaining soul. AFO didn't want to do this because if he did it, the way that he was combined with Shigaraki at the time would mean he basically committing suicide. He would be killing himself too, because it would destroy both of them.
I know that was your question.
But it doesn't. That's not what ends up happening. AFO, at this point, he's not even sure how he did it, but he comes to the conclusion it was because he was so detached from the world that he survives. Like, his soul remains intact where Shigaraki's is blown to bits. And keep in mind, this was like already a super weakened Shigaraki's soul. This is like the one that just took 8 overlay punches.
Yeah.
So like he's a really damaged one at this point. What ends up happening is the remnants of Nana's soul puts Shigaraki back together, even though he's technically dead and in pieces. So souls can be repaired in My Hero, and like AFO survived what should have destroyed his own soul.
Okay, so a few pointers. Number one, for your first point, Devil asked, does it show Eraserhead was still looking at Shigaraki after the explosion, or was he incapacitated or not seeing him when he re-healed his body?
He was not incapacitated. It wasn't so. Aizawa's at this point is missing one eye. So what he did was have what's his name? Nanoma? I can't remember. It's the yellow-haired guy from Class 1B who can copy abilities. So he's holding. So the way Nanoma's ability works is that Aizawa keeps his hand on him, which allows him to keep copying the ability. So he's copying Aizawa's ability, and then they have that one other guy that can keep eyes refreshed that helped Aizawa in the prior war. He's helping Nanoma's eyes keep on it, and he's still looking. after the detonation, Aizawa and Nonoa gets knocked out. It's like rubble, like a piece of debris hits Nonoa, knocking him out. Which basically, like that's after the detonation. And at the time of the detonation occurring is when we see Shigaraki's like donut hole chest has swollen, and ripping out of it is a new head. So at the same time, while his regeneration is negating, a new head rips out of the torso, meaning that basically the new upper torso was finished. The evolution had produced it.
Okay, so you're saying Nanami gets, or yeah, or the blonde kid gets knocked out after the explosion because the rubble hits him. After he gets knocked out, the chest pops out of his stomach, or it's already popping out
No,
of his chest when it.
at the same time of the detonation, the upper torso and the head have already been finished, and they're ripping out of the destroyed upper torso as the detonation occurs. And Enoma is still looking at this time, so power null is still in effect.
I'd have to see the panels directly, but I'll trust you on that one.
Sure.
So regarding Nana repairing the soul, Shiggy doesn't do that himself. That would be someone else theoretically who does it. He would not be aware of his own soul or enough to do that himself because he didn't do it, right?
He doesn't do it, but it is evidence that AFO could do it. Since he kind of does it to keep his soul intact, and then two, that's So here's the interesting thing. Shigaraki's vestiges are not able to rebel against him, whereas AFOs can. The reason of or at least original AFO. So the interesting thing about this is that AFO gave his original quirk to Shigaraki and then took in a replica. The replica had vestiges of their own. They were capable of rebelling against AFO, and he attributes it to the nature of it being a replica and that he's not as strong as Shigaraki. Shigaraki's vestiges cannot rebel against him. And even when original AFO's vestiges rebelled against him and caused his body to pause, Hawks was going to go in for the kill, and then Hawks stopped because he saw something in AFO's eyes and immediately retreated. And then we're shown this like page of inside of AFO's mindscape, him just ripping apart all the vestiges that were rebelling against them, and he can start moving again. So what I'm getting is that Shigaraki, or probably more so AFO in this scenario, will be able to pull his soul back together by using the other vestiges to do so. Or, I mean, granted, literally has his own feat of doing so by surviving basically spiritual suicide.
Okay. I guess the question I'd ask is, what's stopping Mahito from just hating all the souls at once? Because we've been talking. No. So when he enters Sukuna's domain, every human in My Hero Academia, or every human in JJK, or every creature is born with an innate domain. When he enters Sukuna's, he's still out there. He's just talking to Sukuna directly at that point. But if he's not interested in talking to any of them...
what you're getting at, what you're thinking is 0.2. So, what ends up happening is...
Like, it's 0.2 is just a shorter version of the same domain. Like, 0.2 is not a... They're not a different domain. It's the same domain. It's just shorter.
I know. It's the same domain, but because the time frame is shorter, Sukuna can't react in time to attack. That's the way Mahito puts it. Mahito says, I'm safe in this scenario. M&I is Sukuna. Yes. And it's consistent with one other thing. Sukuna, do you remember Gojo versus Sukuna?
Yes.
Do you remember their final domain clash before Mahoraga interrupts?
Yeah.
Because Sukuna chose to undergo RCT, he timed wrong. Gojo's domain expansion was like something 0.001 seconds faster or something like that. And because of that, he screwed up the domain clash, and Unlimited Void won that domain clash. It's very similar to what the point of that 0.2 scene is. Sukuna cannot react in time, which is funny enough is a really weird speed anti-feat, but I digress. Getting it is, we've already discussed 0.2 is not enough. What I'm getting at is, since they work similar, so the reason the innate domain shows up in that scene in the first place is souls normally are not aware of their own domain, or at least if they are, they can't, like, there's no visualization scene possible. We know this from Yuji first finding out about the innate domain. It's even explained by like Mahito, like the narration. It's because there's a forbidden soul within, or second soul within Yuji, that two things happen. One, Yuji is able to harm Mahito because he's aware of the outline of the soul, even though he's not really into souls at this time. He hasn't really studied the soul. It's simply for the fact that he has two souls in him. You could even go as far to say, since Shigaraki has multiple souls, that his physical blows should harm Mahito in the same way, but I'm not going to argue that. That, I feel, is a little headcanon. You could argue it, but I'm not going to do it. What I will argue is that AFO is going to be able to, AFO or the Vestiges should be able to pull off what Sukuna did, which is by the same, we already discussed the mental, like landscape that exists for Shigaraki. It is almost 1-to-1 within an innate domain, especially how Izuku explains it later. So what I'm getting at is when and AFO is also shown existing. His vestige and all the other vestiges exist within the mental landscape. So does Shigaraki's soul. In fact, Shigaraki's soul is like super buried within it. To the fact that like he's within the origin space, which is like even deeper than like his mental landscape. So here's what's going to happen. Mahito triggers domain expansion to try and avoiding Shigaraki. He's going to end up in the mental landscape akin to Sukuna because Shigaraki has multiple souls within him. That's kind of what happens with idle transfiguration when there's more than one soul, because when you have more than one soul, you become aware of your own innate domain. That's with so what's going to happen is Shigaraki is like, it's going to have Mahito appear like there, right? That is horribly bad for Mahito, because we know that any damage he takes in the innate domain transfers to his physical body. Sukuna slashed him in the innate domain. That damage persisted on his physical body in the real world, which broke his domain. Sukuna has vague soul hacks. If you really want to argue it's a Sukuna only thing, the only showing Sukuna has for soul hacks is twofold. One, him being able to regenerate his soul, which is more of a mechanic thing, not so much a soul hacks thing. It's explained literally just because he knows the outline of his soul. It's not really soul hacks. It's just an application of RCT. And then two, he's able to transfer overload of information to him to Megami Soul. But that's explicitly because of his symbiotic relationship with Megami.
Hang on.
In like, go ahead.
All for One stated in 287 that All for One versus a random Vistage, and that random Vistage won. All for One's weak in his Vistage influence, and random quirk user was able to deal with him.
287? Hold on.
He's saying, yeah, he.
I have 287. 287 might be the moment he lost control, which I referenced earlier, which he was able to regain control pretty quickly. Wait a minute. 287? 287 is...
He's saying All for One stated in 287, so that is a 287.
It's what?
He's not giving a...
No, I know what 287 is. 287 is when All for One tries to steal One for All, and it can't do it at the time because Shigaraki is not yet complete. Granted, Shigaraki, and this is another thing we haven't discussed, Shigaraki's willpower is so powerful at this moment that is later literally able to erode the rules of the One for All mindscape, which is very similar. It basically be the equivalent of like him nuking an innate domain off of his willpower alone. But, and I digress. What is the comment? That AFO failed what?
The AFO was like failed to fight a random Visage, so why would we assume he's like that strong in his Visage form?
That's not a random Vistage. He failed. Okay, so what ends up happening is in this sequence, AFO has taken over Shigaraki's body after he's been burned alive. Keep it in mind, Shigaraki is not complete at this point. He hasn't even built his hate shield yet. He hasn't reached the pinnacle of his hatred. His willpower ties to his hatred. The stronger the hatred, the stronger the willpower. Which is why AFO groomed him as such. Anyways, AFO touches Izuku after stabbing Bakugo. And in that moment, it brings them into the One for All, like, kind of like, mindscape. And in this moment, Shigaraki meets Nana Shimura, her Vestige, and admits that he hates her too. And AFO has a chat with Izuku, more so with Nana, and then Yoichi, who shows up. And in this moment, AFO wants to take One for All. So Shigaraki, he has him leash his willpower, and it starts eroding at the One for All world. But it even starts corroding AFO himself, which is kind of interesting that this is an incomplete Shigaraki whose hatred has not reached its peak. His willpower is so corrosive that it's even destroying AFO in this moment. So AFO has to assert his control at this time to keep himself from dying. He then has demands like basically says, Shigaraki, combine your power with mine. We will take one for all now. And he almost succeeds. He fails because every single vestige in Izuku combines effort with Izuku. And to stop it, and all it accumulates into is a rejection. So in the real world, a small explosion happens where they both go flying. They basically tied. And it's explained by AFO. The only reason they lost, or rather failed, is that Shigaraki is not complete. He wants Shigaraki to retreat, perfect his body, and try again. And we know that this is the truth because if you go back to the final fight with Shigaraki and Izuku, it's established that Shigaraki, at his peak of his hatred, the vestiges say that his willpower supersedes all of them together. A simple hand touch from him would have taken them all if it wasn't for the fourth user intervening with Danger Sense, but he got taken anyways. So, yeah, the reason AFO failed is because Shigaraki was not complete. He was literally, it was basically a 2v8 situation where, 2v9 situation technically, Yoichi, Nana, Izuku, and every single one of the other vestiges within him. So yeah, it's 9v2. And at this time, Shigaraki wasn't fully willing to want to work with AFO anyways. So, yeah, it's like more like a 2v9, and the two don't want to cooperate. So, at best. And Shigaraki is not complete. Shigaraki was complete, they would have just taken all the vestiges right then and there, and Izuku would have died.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, so just to clarify, Shigaraki has the advantage in everything for the most part. It's really just coming down to how do you take the hacks battle. And I guess the best argument you could make is that Mahito, when he activates domain expansion, well, assuming you don't just believe Shigaraki can just blitz him in his domain, which is technically a possibility. No one in JJK's ever demonstrated a counter to that position, technically. So basically, if you argue the position that when he activates his domain expansion, he would be stuck in some random fucking mental landscape, I guess I could see the position that he would just...
Not random. Shigaraki's landscape. And it would be his downfall. Also, one other thing. You brought it up. So, Mahito's domain is weird. From Mekamaru and Nanami, we know that the sure hit effect isn't... I mean, it's passive, but it's not. So what I mean by that is, Nanami had enough time that he didn't die when the domain activated, that Yuji had enough time to bulldoze his way through the domain barrier. He is in, quote-unquote, Mahito's hands, but it's not like Unlimited Void, where if you, enter, you're immediately hit by the info rush. Mahito still has to, activate the effect. We know it also from Mekamaru. Yeah, also from Mekamaru too. Especially with the anime, the physical hands of the domain came down. I'm also pretty sure it's in the manga. The manga doesn't show them hands coming down, but they slam. The mech is on the floor with the hands holding it down. And Mekamaru has enough time to activate a simple domain tube to save himself from the
Yeah.
Holy crap! Now that I think about it, he does have enough time to do that.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, your argument would be more so the domain's a little bit ineffective, but that would more than likely...
The argument I have would be simple as hell. If Mekamaru had enough time to activate the simple domain tube, what's stopping Mahito from... Shigaraki from just... So let me show you a panel of what I'm. It's not even super complicated. Literally, Decay evolves end of series to such an extent that it can cover all of Shizuka Prefecture in a few seconds. That's several. That's like several kilometers.
That's arguing we
more so.
Mekamaru use simple domain. Yeah, but so the problem is this is a character flaw with Mahito. Because Mahito could have killed these characters instantly, with his domain allegedly, but he doesn't demonstrate that. So you would just argue if he could do it, he's not experienced enough to do it before he dies in the series. Because he would be new to domain usage anyways, because he's still like relatively young.
What I wanted to show you was this panel right here. I'm going to post this in BC chat.
Yeah, but there are a lot
End
of
of
domains
series
in
Shigaraki
that can be blitzed. Go ahead.
End of series Shigaraki does not need to touch the ground with his hands to use Decay.
Yeah, it's just his feet,
Decay
right?
spreads from his feet.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and Decay is Shigaraki's opening move. In every single fight he's in. So, Shigaraki actually has his own strategy for fights. It's extremely simplistic. Decay, if Decay fails, go with Ribbit Step or Air Cannon, which, by the way, can launch somebody freaking 30 miles away. But I digress. What I'm getting at is there's literally nothing stopping it, and it would be completely in character if this is what happens. Mahito activates Domain Expansion, doesn't immediately activate the instantaneous hit because that's literally Mahito's character. And from Shigaraki's feet comes out Decay at such a speed that it consumes kilometers worth of distance within the domain. It would literally hit the domain walls before Mahito moves his hand to activate the instantaneous hit. And we know that domains... So, the domain wall is physical. The only part of the domain that's not physical... I mean, the hand is weird because it's implied that it has mass, because it's able to bring down Mechamaru. That wouldn't matter. We know from the Sukuna fight that the Shrine is metaphysical, quote unquote. Destroying it wouldn't destroy the domain, but it can be damaged because when Gojo hits Sukuna
destroying the shrine destroys the domain.
No.
Yeah,
well,
that's how Gojo
yes,
the first
no.
time, because he hits it with the red and it destroys the domain.
No, it wasn't destroyed. Reread the fight. It wasn't. He damaged it, and then he says, "Sukuna, you can expand this further out, right?" And then he reactivates his domain. Sukuna's domain doesn't get broken until the first tied domain clash when Gojo does the compressed domain expansion. Basically, Gojo has 2 domains broken before Sukuna even has the 1 broken. But it's irrelevant though.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant though. What I'm getting is that the wall is physical. Yuji broke in. Gojo's wall is destroyed from the outside. It can be destroyed from the inside too. You remember when Sukuna does the binding bow to supercharge, basically shrine on the inside, and even destroys it from the inside? What I'm getting is Decay would literally hit the walls and literally corrode it away. And Decay is Duradeg. It's not like Shrine where it's like cutting the wall. It's literally just gonna decay that wall. Decay can also decay energy waves. So the Redestro fight? Yeah. The Redestro releases stress in the form of energy wave, and Decay literally decayed it away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would agree with the barriers being physical, but since he can already affect energy anyways.
No, they are absolutely physical.
Well, because
they're absolutely physical. Otherwise,
because
go
cursed energy's weird about that, because it's spiritual energy being put outwards. The domain is putting a spiritual barrier. It's more physical, to be fair, but I don't think it's a physical in the sense, because it doesn't destroy shit in its way. Like, you can create a domain expansion that doesn't push the buildings out of the way or destroy it, because Gojo doesn't.
Not entirely true. Not entirely true, and we know this for one reason. Do you remember Kenjaku mentions another reason Gojo wouldn't open a domain? Is that if he did, it would kill people, not just because of Unlimited Void, but because the barrier would squish them.
Yes, hang on. I believe
I can get you...
Well, no, I believe I had scanned.
I can get you that scan if you want.
Yes, because I do remember that one, but I believe that was more in reference to because his domain in particular is a spatial one. Because Gojo's ability
no.
is
It's not referring to space. It's referring to the barrier in that discussion, because I remember it's because of the subway, how cramped it is, right? So if he opened a domain, the barrier wall is going to hit the people against the wall and squish them to death.
Yeah, but that would be the people inside, though. That would be inside the domain already.
Hold on, it's not referring to the inside. I can actually get you the discussion. Hold on. I have Shibuya like memorized.
Well, yeah, because there's the barrier you would create around it, and then there's the space in between that barrier and the domain itself. That's what you're going with. Yeah, I do not have that particular scan.
No. What I'm saying is the people outside of the barrier. No. Jack is talking about the people outside the barrier. They would be killed.
Then what would they be squished against?
It was either the subway walls.
I'm fairly confident they were being squished against the barrier and his domain, and his actual thing. But I mean, I could be wrong.
His domain interior isn't. So his domain interior is not physical. We know that because it's like literally information dome. His domain is like one of the few ones that explicitly has nothing physical inside.
No, because it is physical. It's just limitless all around him. Limitless is the same thing that pushes things outwards, prevents things from going in, etc. It's just limitless in a neutral state. Limitless in a neutral state is the barrier that he uses that can't let people touch him, but that can be used to crush people as well.
I'll get the exact.
Yeah,
it's in the early '80s. I'll find it right now for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I don't remember exact. I know what you're talking about. I remember the panels. I don't remember exactly what he says, but I do know that technically the domain would be limitless itself in there. And Limitless can be used to push people into another object and crush them, because that's how he kills Hanami. Is he crushes him against the wall basically with his with
like a little bit. Yep, I was right.
Let's see it.
Okay, so there's even a diagram.
Yeah,
so
that's why I remember the diagram. But let's see it.
No. So look what the diagram shows. It shows building. There will be a significant number of sources who will be crushed between Unlimited Void, which is the domain, and the curtain. And even shows the curtain and the building. And it says, I'm 99% sure Satoru Gojo won't use domain expansion. So basically getting that the domain is going to crush them against the curtain. And it's obviously not referring to Gojo's curtain. It's referring to his curtain.
Then this would only be in reference to people with cursed energy then, because I'm fairly confident when they open up domain expansions in the city, it doesn't destroy the buildings around them. So this would be an example of them having cursed energy being pushed back, because in the Maki fight, it is stated that buildings aren't directly put into those either. They're not directly affected by that because they don't have cursed energy.
It's not putting the buildings. It's more so here, let me show you. This is from chapter 84. And it's literally the same time that the fight starts with the people in the subway. We know that not every single one of them has like some people couldn't see the curses, right? Some people could when they start. I think Mahito might make a comment on this. 100%. I think what you're probably remembering is Mahito's comment, because I think Mahito's comment as to why Gojo wouldn't open domain was basically like the information overload would kill him. But let me double check that. Kenjaku's more so was talking about the domain crushing them against the curtain or the building. But let me double check. I'll try and find Mahito's statement right now. Mahito's statement is from chapter 89. Digress. Anyways, Decay also, we established Decay also, literally destroyed spirits anyways, so...
Yeah.
Even if... I think this entire thing is kind of it wouldn't really matter.
It doesn't matter for this fight. It's just an inconsistency with how domains are portrayed in the story, because...
Alright, so it actually is not Mahito that makes the statement. It is Joko. Let's see. You kill every person here, you could save everyone outside of the domain... Plus I'm not Eric, but you won't. You can't. Okay, yeah, let's talk about the info overload. It was Kenjaku who was talking about crushing people. Okay, I think there's enough.
Yeah, oh no.
No.
I'm sorry, I've gone on.
No.
I realized it was 2 a.m. Good gravy. This was fun. I should probably wrap this up soon.
Yeah,
anyway, are there any remaining questions in this stream? My TDLR for the domain is. My Mahito character is gonna accidentally give Shigaraki to do what he does in character, which is literally just passively release a several kilometers long wave of decay, which will destroy the barrier, regardless if the barrier is physical or not. Which, if the barrier is destroyed, that shuts down the DE, and then Mahito won't be able to do it again for 10 days. Which forces him back to use idle transfiguration physically. 2, if he somehow does get it off, it results in a Sukuna-esque situation because of, well, how Shigaraki works internally.
Yes. No, yeah.
So, is there any other question?
No, just people. Or Mahito speed blitzing Shiggy Soul 0.2 to 3 weak Shiggy so bad. No, because the problem is that Mahito is just too slow. This is more. If they were more comparable in stats, like legitimately, this would be a more possibly slightly closer fight, just because there wouldn't be the massive caveat. But like most of Mahito's shit takes time or physical contact. So again, like let's assume he opens the domain, Mahito and character's not going to go for the insta kill. Shigaraki just immediately just fucking either blitzes him and decays him, or decays the barrier, which is effectively just decaying him too, because it's an effective win con. If you can break their barrier, they're basically fucked anyways.
Again,
Was the question
as we've been saying over the last 3
weeks, 0.2?
Yeah, no.
Was the question if we could blitz him with
Daryl's been arguing in favor of Shiggy's like abilities being like better than what's being presented here, or at least Mahito's, not my bad, Shiggy's, because he points out that Mahito could disable Shiggy's soul, making evolution useless, stuff like that. The problem with Mahito specifically is we never see him use the full extent of his ability, because by that logic, Mahito could shut down curse techniques. But he doesn't demonstrate that on Sukuna. He doesn't demonstrate that on anyone he fights, because Todo has his curse technique afterwards. And if I remember correctly, Mechamaru would have still had all of his curse technique in his range, even without the heavenly restriction being removed by fucking Mahito. So if Mahito could affect the powers a soul grants somebody, he'd never demonstrated it. Because he
if he could, he literally would have stopped. If he could do that, he would have just stopped Kenjaku from trying to absorb him.
Probably.
I do. Let me give Devil credit on credit was due. Destroying the soul would actually stop evolution, because I mean that's literally what happens when AFO kill. Oh, it was Daryl. Okay, so let me point this out. So when AFO blows up Shiggy's soul,
yes,
evolution stops working.
Okay.
So, but the problem is, we've already discussed everything. Like, that can't happen. Idle transfiguration would take way too long. It has to break through hate shields, several layers. Shigaraki has more than enough time to kill Mahito with decay and keep destroying him. There's multiple routes you can take it. If you say, oh, decay doesn't have evidence of destroying the soul, okay, fine. Destroys the body until there's nothing to regenerate from, or Mahito runs out of curse energy. Which, by the way, chapter 32 is actually mistranslated. In the proper translation, Mahito says it's like a pain in the butt if he didn't have a body, because self-repair would be like inefficient, which implies he needs something to work off of. And granted, he can do it with very small amounts. When he fake kills himself against Mechamaru, he blows himself up. So, like, he can work with scraps, but decay is covering like several kilometers worth. It will cover his entire surface area. So, and then decay works on souls because it literally, did that to Isuku.
Yes.
So, it's going to kill Mahito whether he likes it or not. 0.2, I've already explained the issue with it. Only enough time to affect maybe one body part, which Shiggy is more than willing to give up on hand. He can grow new ones with evolution. He can grow a freaking upper torso. Or if he gets too damaged, AFO could just bank on keeping what remains together via rivet stab, like he did in 423. 0.2 wouldn't work regardless, because, as I explained, despite it protecting him against Sukuna, he didn't do anything to Yuji, even though he literally says in that chapter, you stay right there, Sukuna, I will kill Yuji myself. So, why? If he could have used it on Yuji to kill Yuji without Sukuna interfering, why didn't he? Instead, he chose Todo. All 0.2 did was make it fast enough that Sukuna can react. Yes. It's more of an anti-feat on Sukuna's end than it is really a feat for Mahito.
So,
and then go ahead.
I was gonna ask you then, since you mentioned earlier that JJK, if you give like the generous light speed to the attack and everything for Sukuna, They mentioned that My Hero Academia is light speed, but I'm assuming it's not base light speed. So where does My Hero Academia scale light speed wise? Because I'm assuming there's like a number beyond
That's
just.
the funny thing. I personally don't like MFTL or FTL. So let me put it like this: My Hero has a lot of relativistic feats,
Yes.
and it has uh, some baseline light speed stuff. Um, it has okay, so there's an anime only feat of Jiro's sound wave blitzing AFO's radio waves. It's a very funny feat. It gets like 60 times the speed of light. I do not like it for three reasons. One, that screams outlier as hell for Jiro. Two, sound waves that much faster than light in a verse where it doesn't explicitly treat sound as faster than light is kind of silly. And then three, radio waves is weird because it has properties that are antithetical of something being light speed, but I'm perfectly fine with it being light speed. It's literally supposed to be radio waves, and that's how he controls the Nomus. I just don't like Jiro's feet. Without actually, hold on. I can probably get you a number right now. So you're asking where does it scale with like for FTL stuff, right? An
Yeah,
actual number.
like
That's what you want, right?
what are the calculations saying for like My Hero? Because you mentioned
Sure.
6 times for
Yeah.
JJK, but like, so where would that be for My Hero? Just to give a disparity example.
So Sukuna's dodge. I've had two calcs done. Sukuna's aim dodge, quote unquote, if you think it's an aim dodge. If you don't think it is, it's like 5 times the speed of light.
Yes.
Um, is Sukuna blitzing the waves is like 6 times the speed of light.
Yeah.
And the debatable movement with Jacob's ladder is like 0.3 C, like relativistic.
Yeah.
If you treat them all as like legit, they're consistent, I guess. Oh, okay. Nagant's bullets, the high end is 1.9 C. So like about 2 times FTL
Okay.
without granted there would be a lot of upscaling
Yeah.
from 2 times. But I personally am not a fan of 60 times the speed of light. I think the Jiro feat is kind of whack.
Okay, so is the Jiro feat like the best feat that the verse would have hypothetically for a speed feat then, or is that like?
Yeah, because it can get 60 to some 100 times the speed of light, but I don't think
Okay,
it's
so
really.
then theoretically, if we could have scaled Mahito to Sukuna, they would be more. They'd be in a relative ballpark of speed theoretically, right? Or would you say Shigaraki's like?
Theoretically, or if you want to say, if anyone were to use the Jiro feat though, like Shigaraki would.
Yeah.
Let me put it like this: if anyone considered that feat legit, Jiro would like via Jiro, like Shigaraki would be blitzing to an unholy degree.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I was curious on because like I don't know how fast My Hero Academia is. Like you mentioned light speed for a while before this matchup happened, but yeah, that's why I was just curious because you had some calcs done.
Light speed, like there's a 0.8 C feat, like really high end rail,
Yeah.
and there's like baseline light speed. It's
Yeah.
like the verse is consistently for god tiers for like rel to that like low FTL range.
All right, that's fine. Yeah. Regardless, that'd still be vastly faster than what Mahito can produce. So I think Shiggy has to lose some of the quirks to get Mahito to use decay. Yeah, Shigaraki scales higher than Mahito simple. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, it's just at the end of the day, anything Mahito could have potentially done to win, he just gets speed bullets half the time, or Shigaraki just has counters for it, or Mahito's ability.
It's as we were saying for the last 3 weeks.
Yep.
This fight literally came down to
You really gotta
can
hate
the
it
affect the
when
soul?
Shigaraki-
Yes or no?
Yeah.
At least it's not an Omnilander situation. I do think Mahito has some arguments. It's not as bad as Omnilander. Anyways, what about that next time?
Yeah, Master Chief versus Doom guy. So I'm very curious to see where, or I guess Doom Slayer.
Did I cut
my
out?
bad. No, I was gonna say I guess we'll see where Death Battle scales Doom Slayer. This is gonna be an interesting one because Doom Slayer has a wide array of scaling takes. You can go anywhere from like
Well,
DM multiversal
seeming-
to like immeasurable speed to
well-
below.
Well, seeming how disgustingly generous they were to Kratos for no reason, I think they're going to go the full hog when it comes to Doomslayer.
It's really going to come down to how they want to scale the creator because I believe the
Let me go with the question. Where do you two have Doomslayer at? Because
I don't.
I
I don't scale Doom. I know nothing about Doom, and I know just as little about Halo. What I do know from Halo comes from Mangler.
So I'm not sure if I agree with the higher dimensional arguments. I need to double check the creator situation. But the icon of sin.
forget higher dimensional arguments. I just want to know where you think he scales.
I think Uni Plus is fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
Okay, I gotta go.
This
This is already 2:20. I got work in the morning, but before I dip, any other questions pop up in the VC? Any disagreements?
No,
Anything?
just the same guy talking about Shigaraki's abilities and stuff like that, but and Vestiges. But you covered a lot of that already.
Well,
so...
you can choose to ignore this one, but is there even an inkling that Geralt is coming soon or ever?
Geralt?
Wait for
if Geralt has like a popular idea to ride off of, like
why doesn't he? Why don't they
like,
just do Claire? Why don't they just do Claire from Claymore?
I've seen that one spreading around. I think the only reason they would not would be that Claire's old popular idea was Guts. Granted, I don't think Guts needs a third rerun, but you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah. All right, Cyber. You have yourself a nice night. Thanks for stopping by. Always a pleasure.
I'm sorry I hijacked your stream for like 3 hours.
No, it's fine because you were the only guy here who actually knew about My Hero Academia, so you at least provided a lot of context and like more information than we could have. Because if you hadn't shown up, this would have been more of just a reactionary one. But you actually had like receipts and information. We didn't have that. We haven't gone through My Hero Academia. So yeah, no, that's fine. You all good? I was surprised it went on this long, though. Even by our standards, this is a little silly. 3 hours for a 24-minute video. No, you good, Cyber.
I hijacked.
Yeah. The next match.
Anyways,
yeah. No. Red Dust was asking who the matchup's going to be. It's going to be versus Master Chief from Halo. Doomslayer versus Master Chief. It's their very first.
You want me to answer
the only thing.
Go ahead.
So the only thing that I know is that if what Mangler says is true from everything that he's gone through the Halo novels, then Master Chief should win.
So, technically that's the Forerunners who have that abilities, not Master Chief himself. It would depend on the Forerunner weapons and what they want to give Master Chief. But go ahead, Cyber, before you take off.
Would they give him Cortana?
Master Chief.
Well, Where is he? No. It's not scaling Master Chief. It's scaling the Forerunners. Because the Forerunners have a lot of crack statements in the expanded lore and universe in the novels that Mangler's been going through. So it's really going to come down to, do you believe the Forerunner shit would scale to their weapons? And that would make this a much more interesting matchup. Because I don't think Doomslayer loses to anything the UNSC has currently in handheld weaponry.
Well, the one question I did have is, like, would they give Master Chief Cortana?
Yeah, but that shouldn't matter.
Probably.
Cyber.
Cortana is iconic as hell. It would be weird not to. Like, that's actually brought me up to. Did you know by fun fact, or rather not fun fact, trivia. So Cortana, the reason she kind of like breaks down in Halo 4, and they ruined this in Halo 5. But anyways, I digress. Halo 4 was a decent game, overhated, but also not the salvation of the series that it's hailed as by some people. Anyways. The reason Cortana breaks down in game, at least from the director wanted to mirror his situation with his mother. His mother had late stage Alzheimer's, and he took care of her in her years, and it was, in his words, it was hell for him. But at the same time, he wanted to be there for his mother, and he wanted to mirror that situation with Master Chief and Cortana. So their situation with her constantly breaking up in 4 is meant to mirror his having to take care of his mother.
That explains
the director.
How she acts there. Mangler's the Master Chief wins. Yeah, because Mangler doesn't scale Doomslayer all that high, but he has reasons, and I'll talk about that. I'll try and get Mangler to talk about it at some point. If not, I'll talk about it later on. Because I scale Doomslayer to Uni Plus because of the Icon of Sin, but that's very iffy because the Icon of Sin doesn't destroy universes through AP. It's just his mere existence shatters the universe. Technically, black hole. Bullshit.
Last thing to Pimp Demon before I go. Halo 5 is a good game from a gameplay standpoint. His story is garbage, and I will die on that hill.
Cyber's right for once. That's a good take, Cyber. That's a good take. But all right. Well,
So I'm the only one who's going into this not knowing anything about Doom.
yeah, you're right,
Terrific.
Kyle. You should start streaming Doom.
Adios.
All right, take care, Cyber. Okay, so regarding this matchup, we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to come down to whether or not Master Chief gets Forerunner weapons or not. But we'll see what they give. We'll see what they give.
I think even if they do, they're only doing this to walk back what they said last time.
Yeah.
Because if Master Chief still wins, there is literally no reason for him to do this matchup again.
Well, to be fair, a lot of shit has changed in that time period, so it would be fair to redo the matchup just with all new information.
That brought me back.
What the fuck?
I promise. The only reason this is occurring is it's not to correct a prior verdict. It actually was. It was fan.
Oh,
It was fan vote.
this was the fan voted rematch then.
Yes, they had a bunch of options on the Kickstarter. Some more worse than others. Mewtwo Shadow was number 2. This one got double the amount of votes that it had more votes than anything else on that roster.
Because people are all under the impression that Doomslayer just handily takes this matchup. Because I'm not saying Death Battle's going to say that, but the people, the casual scaler, believes Doomslayer would be superior by a vast margin at this point. So they believe this matchup.
I just think people wanted it. It got the
So,
most votes.
Yeah.
Isn't this a bad time to do the Doomslayer when
If anything, it's a good time for view count.
No, for
You
me,
they
well,
can
not,
buy
not for a view count, but let's say that the Doomslayer loses, the new game that's coming out could walk that right back.
True. I don't know who wins on the research, but I'm just saying that from like a view perspective, which is what they want to focus on too.
Yeah.
There is no better time to release
'cause
this.
there's a new Doom
Yeah,
game.
right off the hype of the new release of the Doom game.
Yeah.
The only thing that would be better is if there was somehow a new Halo game, but good luck getting another one anytime soon. Anyways, adios.
All right, take care. Yeah, no. So while you are right, the new Doom game's a prequel. So anything they add, probably, I mean, it might matter, but I doubt it would. It's a prequel to the first Doom 2016 game, actually. Yeah, because Doom Dark Ages is a prequel to technically the whole series, right? For the new entries, I believe. Yeah, because he's already Doomslayer by the time 2016 comes around, and he's already Doomslayer for obviously, the other Doom game. I can't remember the name of it. Also, they ran back looking for Superman, and the outcome stayed the same. Yeah, but Goku vs. Superman got ran back for new information too. So runbacks for new information is fine.
Well, also depending on how you want to talk to Mangler. Mangler says that that result should change as well.
Oh, don't even say that. Fuck, you're probably no, because I don't think Mangler. Ooh, I'm kidding.
Because Mangler doesn't composite Superman; he takes him by individual ages.
Which is what you should do, because if you composite Superman, you get into some really fuck scenarios. But that's all comic book characters, it's not just Superman. At any rate, it's a pretty solid matchup overall. Good death battle, I think, overall. I do think there were some questionable things here and there, but for the most part, they got the outcome correct, regardless of what they gave Mahito.
I think they were kind of generous for Mahito, but they did get the right result.
They were very generous, because even if you go with the whole Black Flash shit, the only guy who would scale to it would be Gojo, because Gojo's the only one who claims to receive it.
I fully understand why Cyber tries to defend it, but I think you absolutely understand why I don't fuck with that and why I have serious issues with that explanation.
I understand your position, but it would be something that would only scale to Gojo and maybe Sukuna. But I'm being generous to Sukuna on that one. Because technically...
I still don't think that it scales the speed. I think it's just talking about activation speed.
Okay, but he still have to activate it within that time frame when he claims he can do it consistently. So what do you like? I understand where you're coming from with it, but at the same, I agree with you on the premise. It's not really applicable to combat unless we mean like
nor perception
Well, he
or
has
travel.
to perceive the fucking second, Kyle. Like that's not up for
No, he
debate.
doesn't.
Kyle,
No, he doesn't.
he's saying that he can
It's his
activate
opinion.
it in. Okay. He
No,
can
I'm not.
see-
I'm
he
not
can
fucking.
see
No,
the
no, I'm not fucking.
We're
No, I'm
talking
not
about a
fucking with this.
character who can perceive time not moving. We're talking about a character
You,
that the author
you fucking,
states.
you do not fucking believe that whatsoever for the
We're
prison
talking
realm.
about
Do
a
not try that
character.
shit.
We're talking about a character that the author directly states
You
can
do
do
not.
anything
You do not.
if he puts
do
time
not
to
try
it.
that. Do not try that because I have talked to you enough about the prison realm, and I know you don't fucking agree with that.
No. Whether or not it scales to speed is completely up in the air. I'm not debating that it scales to speed. What I'm saying is that Gojo can perceive time not moving. If Gojo tells me that he can perceive the fucking millisecond or nanosecond or whatever that it takes to do Black Flash, I'm gonna believe the fucker because the guy's got the track record to show he can perceve that shit. No, you're just blatantly being fucking you're just
Right.
not liking it for no reason.
No,
Like,
no, because it's
go on.
travel.
Again, if you want to argue it doesn't scale to like any of their actual like physical speed or anything like that, yeah, that's fine. But I think you're focusing too much on the Black Flash part of it. It's just the energy activation that matters here. By the way, Zim Kyle, I've decided to revisit Final Fantasy 15 after 9 years, and I'll admit the game isn't as bad as I thought it was. Yeah, Sparta, because we have eyes.
Yeah, because the game is not terrible. And again,
Granted, I
you
think
go
its
to
open
16.
world is a little empty, but you know, yeah.
That's just most open world games.
Yeah,
So
that's just like fucking just comes with the fucking genre.
okay, so this has nothing to do with the stream, but Devil asked me to my Final Fantasy question, or like Final Fantasy games I recommend. He's just like, what about 16? Devil, we did a stream all of last year.
By the way,
We did nothing on it.
I decided that Rin still sucks. After thinking about it, he still sucks. Think about it harder. And also, I haven't made the new book free yet for you guys to get, so think about it harder. I don't think I didn't see that domain expansion over there. I don't think I didn't see that name, Pimp Demon. I was watching. But yeah, no. Good death battle overall, I think. I think it was fine. I think they should have had more direct scans where they claim or where they say stuff souls and spirits for the quirks. But I think overall it's very solid death battle. I definitely think it was better than the last one, I think. Because what was the last one? The last one was... What was the last one? I remember having some issues with the last one. Oh, Spawn vs. Ghost Rider. Do I think this was better than Spawn vs. Ghost Rider?
Look, I'm gonna say this right now. I thought the fight was kind of boring, and the animation was kind of stiff.
Well, yeah, because the guy didn't have that much time, to be fair. Because if I remember correctly, Eggman versus Bowser was like an 8-month period. This one would have been like
And it was
2 months. Yeah, it was peak, absolutely. Okay. Still better than Kratos versus Aldera, animation-wise.
Oh, yeah, better than Jorno and Joker, even though they got that one wrong too.
Never, Pimp Demon. Actually, I don't think we'll ever get a Lord of the Rings character back in Death Battle again. I think after Sauron, I don't think we're getting anyone ever again. I think that was the last one.
If anyone is coming in, it would be Gandalf, and it would be against Dumbledore.
Yeah, but I doubt they'll do that matchup. I fell asleep. That's okay, Red Dusk. That's okay.
Because there's no other Lord of the Rings characters to use. Because a lot of the others are like either super obscure or they don't really have any feats unless you want to like start dipping into the games.
They also don't really have any real matchups either. Because like the only matchup I can think for Aragorn would just be Geralt, but like they don't have any similarities. It's just that there's so little characters. You throw Aragorn.
Oh no, because that's not the fight people want for.
What, you gonna say Jon
Aragorn.
Snow?
They want fucking Jon Snow.
Depending on Aragorn's statements, Jon Snow might take that one actually. Unless you want to go with
Fuck no, he doesn't. Aragorn scales to the fucking Nazgul, and the Nazgul can fight Gandalf the Grey. So he fucking unironically scales to Gandalf the Grey. So no, fuck he doesn't.
Oh, so that scaling chain works, but the .0001 milliseconds. No, okay, I see how it is. Fucking,
Yeah.
fucking.
Because I can actually get speed with fucking Nazgul because they can fight Gandalf, and in the novel it literally says that Gandalf was firing lightning at them, and if the lightning was hitting them, the lightning wouldn't just like arc out of the sky away from the hill.
I'm sure.
So they must have been dodging
Game of
him.
Thrones has lightning timing.
They really don't.
It might have light speed, actually. I think in the novels, like, one of the gods, like... Well, I guess it depends on how you want to scale Jon to, like, the heroes of Westeros, because that's also weird, because the heroes of Westeros have crazy legends about themselves. I think I mentioned, the only one I actually found kind of amusing, which was the, there was a king in Westeros that a goddess loved so much, she came down from heaven to fuck him, and the other gods got really mad about that, so they destroyed his castle in response to him banging that goddess. So he built a second castle, one so fucking massive and strong, the gods couldn't destroy it, and he just plowed the goddess for the rest of his days.
The problem with things like that is that it's not really, it's a fantasy series, but it's not a supernatural fantasy series. It would be in the same vein as how the old English used to try and tell tales of like King Arthur and shit like that. So there's not really anything that you can concretely give, and even if that did happen at some point, there's no character alive during the events of A Song of Ice and Fire that would scale.
That's the character you say we're never going to get, not your own character, while yet you have too much faith in your own creation. If I somehow make a big Pimp Demon and somehow one of my characters ends up in Death Battle, it will not be Alexander. I will promise you that one. What about Death Battle Italian? Did we not get Death Battle Italian yet? Wasn't Italian in Death Battle already?
No.
Cyber, it's too late. I was supposed to go to sleep 2 hours ago. It's too late. I've already accepted my fate. This is supposed to be a short stream, so I can go to sleep early today. That's why we're not playing Tales right now. Don't laugh, Kyle. No, you're fine, Cyber. You're fine. It's fine. It's fine. It was a good stream. I had fun. It was a good stream. I'm just not gonna go driving tomorrow because I'm gonna be too tired. I'll just stay home and just fucking lounge around on my couch. Well, actually, I'll finish my Gojo part of the script so I can get ready for that battle, or that versus matchup I'm working on, you know. With Cyber's new wank, I'll have to take a look at that one. You should have cut Cyber from the stream? Nah. He provided a lot of context we needed for this stream. Because reactions are...
We needed someone who knew My Hero Academia.
Yeah, because that's why we actually did it in my main server. Because well, before the stream started, I told Kyle, like, let's just head to the main server, because if Cyber shows up, he'll at least be able to tell us what the fuck's going on with Shigaraki. Because we don't know anything about My Hero Academia. I dropped it after, I want to say, Season 2. Kyle, did you even start watching it, or no?
No.
Yeah. So, we needed someone who could do it, and I assume Cyber was going to show up.
I'm kind of weird, because I like waiting for series to finish. So if I end up liking it, I can just binge my way through an entire thing, because I like doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, hitting you with burp. Nah, it'll be fine. I'll just have to like deal being groggy for the day, but that's fine. I go to work at 12 normally, so it's not a big deal. And I don't work tomorrow or today. I don't work today, so yeah, we're good. All right, so with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for your time as always. Have a nice day, and I'll see you guys on the next streamer video. Take care, everybody, and you all have yourselves a nice night.